With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Another day, another new season of PRL action to kick off, or rather two new seasons of PRL action to kick off. The GT3 Fixed and GT3 Sprint series are back and better than ever, with 50-plus car grids expected for both series tonight. In the GT3 Fixed series first up, we've got about a 50-50 split between familiar faces and new names, and then the GT3 Sprint series has essentially become the Champions League, with 5 of last season's PRL champions meeting each other on the grid. Welcome to Wisconsin, and welcome to round 1 of the PRL GT3 Fixed and GT3 Sprint series, live from the virtual Road America. Hi everybody, Joey Tebben here in the booth alongside Lorenzo Bonder with producer Hugo Luis behind the scenes. Lorenzo, what better place to kick off the season than Road America? It's a track every single driver's familiar with, and that's probably a good thing. We gotta get 51 cars around this place.
It's jam-packed with cars and everything, so we're gonna get really good runs all throughout the track, and this fixed series makes it a little bit more interesting because you don't have to set up the car; it's all on the driver to try to, extract the best out of the vehicle for each and determine the track. And Road America is a track that two things prevail more than anything: one, fuel saving, and second, that draft. You need it.
Road America is surely familiar, but there's some unfamiliar names coming up later. Of course, the new tracks in Oschersleben and Rudskogen coming up at the end of the season, but Twin Ring Motegi, the road course there next week, that's not the most familiar track on iRacing, except for, I guess, some of our IndyCar friends, and they've experienced that some. And Snetterton as well, not the most popular track on iRacing either. It's going to be an interesting GT3 calendar for both the Fixed and the Sprint series this season, Lorenzo.
Oh yeah, absolutely. For those unaware, this kind of mirrors the official series that we have for the GT side. So every track they do, they actually can run it as well in the official series. So it gives them a little bit of a preparation and know how to where they should brake and try to prepare ahead for a race like this, where it's going to be high pressure for 40 minutes and nothing is decided.
Season finale at Rudskogen. It's going to be crazy as well, but we've got 9 weeks until then, and we've got 0 seconds until qualifying begins. But before that can kick off, we must thank all the people who make all of these broadcasts here, all of these PRL broadcasts at RaceSpot possible. Of course, VCO, the virtual competition organization, helping us out here at RaceSpotTV and helping make every single Precision Racing League broadcast possible this season. We are also brought to you by Advanced Sim Racing. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision5 coupon code. And new for this season, you know them by now, Racebox Sim Racing. Racebox offers mid to high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, our button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit raceboxsimracing.com and get a 5% discount using the Precision5 coupon code. Also, RaceLab apps. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. Also, the Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker products provide an incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat with the Butt Kicker. And last but not least, as always, Ninja Trader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Of course you are. Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, Ninja Trader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. Ninja Trader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. Well, for the first time this season in the GT3 Fixed Series, it's time to start tracking some drivers' performance. Got the number 9 Ferrari. That's Thomas Amos on track right now. One of the newer names this season. If you were with us last season, you're going to recognize a lot of names on this list. The Team Beef drivers, Roy Brown, Michael Terrafino, Sean Duhamel is back, the Chandlers are back, Matthias Rangua is back, Mark Feil, the list goes on. But also, we're going to introduce you to a lot of new drivers and a lot of strong new drivers in this qualifying session and over the course of this season.
Yeah, given the fact that some of the drivers that were actually in the Fixed Series and had really good results actually moved up to the Sprint Series, so it's a little bit of a, renovation in terms of the roster lineup that we're going to get for this season. So it's going to be an exciting one, and we were talking before the broadcast, so we're going to get a real good split of cars. You're not going to have a predominant car in a season like this, so you're always going to have that mix of if a car that it would be less performing in a track like, for example, Road America, we can get a driver that can extract the most out of it as we open up the lap.
It was the Mercedes that was especially dominant in the Sprint Series last season. It was also dominant in the Fixed Series. Danik Van Daly won the championship in a Mercedes, but he was beatable. We saw the Audi in the hands of Fred Gallini be competitive. We saw the Ferrari a couple times be competitive. But this season, at least from this one this one practice session rather at Road America, it was the Porsche of Gary Brown on top. So I wonder, is that a shift? Is it no longer a Mercedes festival? Is it going to start a little bit of a Porsche festival?
Yeah, that's a little bit what is what happened. Porsche got a little bit of an increase in balance of performance for season 4.
The AM series and the Sprint series, the Pro series, but also in the Sprint series there's a Pro-Am split, so it gets a little bit confusing. But this is the intro to Tuesday night, a 2,500 iRating cap. Maybe that'll even out the field just a little bit. We'll have to wait and see as the season goes on, but for now, drivers finally getting their first laps in. It is a very, very long out lap and then a very, very long first lap at Road America. But for now, Matthias Rangua on the top of the timesheets. He was in our GT4 Fixed Race lap tonight. Thomas Amos finally crosses the line. It's only a 2:05.1 for him. That's going to put him around the middle of the table, but advantage Matthias Rangua early on in that BMW. Apologies for that, folks. Brief technical difficulties, the magic of the internet, but we should be back and good now. We're watching Angelo Veloz, one of, again, the new names this season. Wasn't here last season, but the number 19 Ferrari on the attack here. Top Ferrari right now is Angelo. His previous lap puts him 4th, but he's on the run now. Is he on the improvement? He's going to climb up the hill here to the start-finish line. Let's see if Angelo can hop up. He only needs half a tenth of a second to jump onto the front row. As he comes to the line, does he have it? He does have half a tenth of a second. Not quite, actually. Timing refreshed. I was wrong. I think Angelo might have gotten his hopes up, too. He'll stay P5 for now.
Yeah, which is going to be a good result, a solid result for this Ferrari. And another interesting thing is, I think we saw this last season as well, Joey, is drivers making a really fast lap, just one fast lap that is usually going to be the best lap overall, and the second lap is kind of like, if you can extract something extra, it's going to be really good, as we see 6 moving up to P3, and as we're going with Floyd Kerr just under the cheese bridge and heading into turn number 5, and of course controversies around the track numberings, but all in all, solid lap so far for the number 68.
Yeah, Floyd Kerr, one of our F3 drivers for at least a few races last season, switching back over into the GT3. Of course, he's very familiar with GT3 machinery. I saw Floyd Kerr in my team's Spa 24 session a little bit earlier this season. So, of course, plenty of experience in this style of machinery for Mr. Kerr. He's currently P4. And again, look at those gaps at the top of the timesheets. 2:04.04 for Kerr. He only needs 30 thousandths of a second to catch 6. And then he only needs 50 thousandths of a second to catch Carollo to go onto the front row. Then Arangua has a little bit bigger of a jump, about a tenth and a half onto pole, but there are no margins at all at the top of these timesheets right now. 2 minutes to go. You better get your last laps in soon, but advantage Matthias Arangua right now.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the trickiest things actually is get a proper lap around Road America, because there are so many different lines, right, Joey? I think you can go into turn number 5. Oh, a little bit of a ride into the sand, and the car just got slightly slidey on the exit. And I don't know if the hard point by Autosport can actually save some time over here, as he is going to end up the lap, Joey. But nevertheless, solid lap so far that is going to guarantee into the top 10.
See if we can guarantee him a couple extra positions here. Climbing up the hill, Gary Brown expected him to be competitive for pole. He goes to second, but Floyd Kerr comes to the line, and it's not going to be an improvement. 3/10 slower, and that's going to be his final lap. 1 minute left, but this is closed qualifying. It's single car qualifying. You need 2 full minutes to get back around here. He will not. Michael Terrafino, the Team Beef driver in a BMW instead of the Ferrari this season, that got him his first pole in the last race of the season, and they've ditched the Portillo's livery over at Team Beef. Nah, I think that said Vienna Beef or something. It's a Vienna sausage car, but the Vienna sausage car will start P7 for now. Eric Kulaga on the run now. The first time we've seen a Lamborghini tonight, I think. Let's see what Eric's got in the tank. And the number 66, he will have time to get to the line, but it's going to be his final lap.
Yeah, it's going to be the final lap. And one of the things about that I've been listening about is that the Lamborghini is probably the most difficult car to drive, as Kulaga is going to actually abort the lap and come into the pit lane. And this is actually an interesting point that we could talk about it here, Joey, that this pit entry is not the most pleasing pit entry in the history of racing, to put it mildly.
Is any pit entry really pleasing, though? Is any pit entry pleasing? I don't think any of them are.
I want to say Fuji.
Fuji's the bane of my existence, but qualifying has come to an end. All of our pit entries have been done. And for the first time in PRL history, Matthias Arangua is on pole. He scores his first pole in the first time of asking. In the GT3 Fixed Series, he's alongside the practice topper, Gary Brown, and then Jeff Carollo and Brandon Six round out 3rd and 4th place. And that's a pair of Audis in 5th and 6th with Floyd Kerr and Andrew Rasmussen. BMW, Porsche, and then Lamborghini, Mercedes, Audi. Lots of diversity. Michael Terrafino in his new BMW for Team Beef is alongside Angelo Veloz on the 4th row. And then Kenny Duval, a familiar name, is alongside a new name in Errol Yuriksoy. Kenny Rodriguez, one of the series admins, starts 11th. And Eric Kalaga, we saw him at the end, starts P12. We're going to be here for a while. There's 51 drivers. Sully Saad is lucky 13th. Steven Martinez is 14th. Matt Scherf is 15th. And Dale Peterson wins the Inter D Peterson battle tonight. And Greg Doucette switches from the GT4 series. That familiar Throttle Thursday livery kicks off in 17th with Greg. Andre Bonatti is 18th. Then Kyle Strykar starts 19th, and he's alongside the other D. Peterson. It's Dave Peterson in 20th in a McLaren, which is very interesting. His teammate Sean Duhamel still in the familiar Ferrari. Then Roy Brown, the second of the Team Beef drivers, starts right ahead of Jod Khalif and Michael Kalaga. We're almost halfway through the field, but the hits keep on coming. Randy Gross is 25th. Ryan Chandler beats Regan Chandler. He's 26th. Jeff Costello is 27th. And Baron Glover, keep getting more Clow Valve drivers. He's 28th. Nick Silver and Brian Hoskins are 29th and 30th. Nicholas Carangis, also in that familiar plaid livery, is alongside Mark File, and they're both ahead of John Columbia and Thomas Amos. Oliver Petit and Mark Bray are 35th and 36th. Joe McCauley and Bob Cohn, Jeff Fleischman and Michelle Plord, and then Regan Chandler and Matt Dinsmore take us down 3 more rows. Mark Forte starts alongside Patrick Cowgill, and the third of the Team Beeves, Glenn Vanko. Rodrigo Michelin switches from the MX5 Cup Series, and Alex Wright and Dan Fendick are 47th and 48th, and I believe they were the last drivers to actually get a lap time in. Andres Espinoza will also be starting at the back of the grid, and Rodrigo Morales, Sean Wiley, and Jason Burmeister were in the session. Will they actually start this race? That is a good question, but between 49 and 52 drivers, Lorenzo, that's not much of a difference. It's still going to be a very, very packed house channeling into turn 1.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That turn 1 and then all the run into turn number 3 and then into turn number 5. I think turn number 4 and 5 more infamously, shall we say, Joe, and I think you and I know the pains around turn number 5. It's going to be an interesting one, especially given the fact that you have 51 cars and trying to scramble for positions for 40 minutes. And like I said before, save fuel over here. That overcut can work so many ways if you actually know how to do it properly. And with cars so varied in this grid, is going to be quite interesting. If, for example, I just say an AMG or a BMW might have a better fuel range than the Porsche or the Ferrari does. And that's me hypothetically saying, of course, just rambling words.
And that fuel-saving challenge, that's what we talked about so many times last season. Danik Van Daly was extremely good at fuel-saving. The Sprint Series with that Mercedes, we talked about it a lot more, but fuel-saving always seems to come into conversation here, and that's always how these races are won. But under pace speed, we will navigate through the critical turn 5 that Lorenzo mentioned. One of the best passing zones in the track, but also one of those pinch points on lap 1, one of those pinch points in every single lap of the race. Who knows how many collisions we've seen over the years in every kind of series at turn 5. I know personally, the only penalty I ever got in PRL competition was when I punted Dave Peterson at turn 5. So I'm sorry, Dave. I got my penalty for that. I hope you have better luck tonight.
You naughty boy. But yeah, I've suffered enough pain in officials in other races and other competitions going around turn number 5, which is more a sweep. And it's a tricky corner now they're going into 4-5 bridge. It's going to be also the longest, I think, in my opinion, if I remember correctly, looking through the calendar, the longest lap, the pit lap of the, sorry, not the longest formation lap of the season, because it is just a very long track and you have to navigate the near 7 kilometers or 6 kilometers that is actually Road America. So drivers can actually take the opportunity to go and clutch a little bit, and again, that fuel save, you can do that in wonders over here.
Yeah, Road America is kind of a painfully long pace lap. We're about past halfway now, so the pain should be over soon, but you can save a little bit of fuel. But at least from my perspective, Lorenzo, this long pace lap always frustrates me. You're waiting so long, you want to get going, you're getting distracted, you're probably checking your phone and then wrecking somebody under pace lap, but it's such a long pace lap, the longest of the season, and all that tension is going to release here in about 3 corners time.
Yeah, not only that, but imagine if you're in the middle, in the mid pack to the back, right? You're in the second half of the field, and look at the sea of cars, bro. So this is insane. But again, imagine if you're in the middle to the back and you're starting, for example, going to the exit of the second to last corner, preparing to the final corner. You're not even up the hill, and you have to prepare yourself. You don't know when it's going to be a green flag, so it's going to be tense.
Looks like Kenny Duval has elected to start from the pits, and it looks like Jason Burmeister has joined the back of the grid. So that's the last of the real bookkeeping here. 50 cars, and even 50 cars for the GT3 Fixed Series here tonight at Road America. But as we navigate through the final corner, the iRacing Porsche pace car is going to pull off onto pit road, and a field of 50 GT3 cars led by Matias Arangua climbs the hill at Road America, and the green flag awaits. The season, the 2022 Season 4 for GT3 Fixed is go. For the most part, trouble-free through turns 1 and 2. Looks like there was a BMW in the background who ran into trouble. I believe that may have been Brian Hoskins hitting the inside wall at turn 1. But other than that, 49 cars through cleanly through the first couple corners of the lap. Look at Floyd Kerr in the blue Audi on the inside of turn 5. The action's kicking off early, and Kerr gets 4th.
Yeah, it kind of holds forward for the time being, but we're really going to move it now. Here comes a problem. You see now this the cars right down in the middle pack and going to turn number 5. And there's where it can get chaotic, like 2-3 wide, and we already having seen issues with the 75 with 15 Joe McCauley and 25 on the back.
Jeff Fleischman around as well. Turn 5 kicks it off again. It bites again. Fleischman spins around, and I did not see what happened to McCauley, but I have to imagine with 49, 50 cars funneling into turn 5, there's got to be some losers, and unfortunately, first lap of the season, Fleischman and McCauley already in trouble and already down at the back of the field with Brian Hoskins looking to make their way forward. But up front, it's been completely clean. A little bit of trouble in the back through the kink, but other than that, completely clean, completely single file through the top 10. And Gary Brown is all over the back of Matias Arangua.
And nearly giving a bump trap going into kind of the corner, and you really want to be giving a bump trap going to kind of the corner. And I think I just see Curry good on the inside on the curve, just following that and trying to build for P4 and P3, but eventually lost a little bit of time. And now here comes Brent 6 on the inside on the final corner. It's going to be a drag race to the finish line.
Steven Martinez in trouble, and I think you were right. I did see Floyd Kerr peek to the inside. And it did not work out for him. He lost the spot to Joe Carollo, and he almost lost the spot to Brandon 6, but on the straight, that Audi seems to have some straight line speed. That's not necessarily what you'd expect when racing a Mercedes, but Floyd Kerr able to hang on to 4th. 6 is trying to fight back. Rasmussen behind in another Audi, and then we've got side-by-side between Terrafino and Veloz. Terrafino's going to be through, and more trouble in the back. Dave Peterson is cursed at Road America. The McLaren's got heavy damage, and I think that was one of the Team Beef drivers in the background as well.
Yeah, it does look like it as he comes back to the track. The front right of that car looks damaged a little bit. It looks dented. As we see on the back, looks like there's going to be Rasmussen on the inside of Brandon 6 trying to go for the dive on the 11, but just could not cope with it. And going to have to tug back going underneath the Cove Rapid Bridge just right behind him.
Terrafino trying to find a way to switch back, and Terrafino spins right on cue. Terrafino does a perfect 360. Excellent recovery. No damage on that BMW, but Terrafino falls out of the top 10. He's going to rejoin as Matt Scherf gets by. Dale Peterson, rather, is going to get by. Strykars gets by. Terrafino's going to rejoin. He's almost going to get punted up the back by one of the We Move racing cars. He's finally back in line, but that was a terrifying sequence of corners for Michael Terrafino.
Yeah, just a little bit less than optimal going into the Corvette Bridge. I really want to look on the replay to see what happened, if that was actually a contact between drivers, and it's going to be quite interesting to try to review that and going into the race.
Terrafino now on recovery. He's kept Andre Bonatti behind him. A little bit of a dust cloud at Canada corner there, but no real diagnosed issue by anybody there. Let's watch a replay. What happened to Terrafino now? That's Bonatti behind. Was there a little bit of contact between Bonatti and Terrafino there? I'm not sure. We'd have to take a look at another angle, but I don't think that was an innocent spin by Terrafino. I think he got some help there.
No, I think they really got a help in there, and it was a slight tap on the back of on the left back of the car of Terrafino and thus causing the spin. But then again, this is such a tricky corner for you to make. And look at Terrafino now on the inside. Let's see if he's going to make that move stick towards Sherv. And looks like the number 94 will get a position in front of Team Beef and just keep it going. But the problem is there is no draft in front of you.
No draft in front of him, just a bright sky and a clean track. But let's watch Benatti in the Ferrari, Terrafino in the BMW. Yeah, there was a little bit of contact there.
Such a smooth contact to try to that managed to actually, you know, levitate the car around. Not levitate, but turn the car around.
Heavy old BMW penduluming around for Terrafino, but a heavy old BMW in the hands of Matias Aranguez, still completely in control of this race. Gary Brown has been hounding him in this 49 car, but he hasn't been able to make the move, and I wonder, I'm going to start to think about last season. I'm going to start to think about the strategies that were pulled in every single GT3 race last season. Is this Gary Brown's true pace, or is this Gary holding it back just a little bit, saving a little bit of fuel, and waiting to pass Matias Aranguez in the pit cycle?
It looked like Ashley Brown was trying to be a little bit more aggressive going to some of the corners. We're going to look at another replay. Look what happened to Dave going to turn number 1. The Porsche just stuck to the inside. That angle doesn't help one bit, and it looks like to me another Porsche just caught up as a collateral damage. But anyway, just as we go moving forward with the race, again, Brown, I think he's hiding the pace a little bit. If he wanted to go for an overtake, he could have. But do you really want to risk a move early on in the race and then lose draft to the BMW that is actually breaking away a little bit?
What happened to the number 12 down at the back of the field? That's Michel Plord, just spins it around completely innocently down at turn 9 before the carousel. A little bit of trouble for one of the Porsches as well, but Michel kind of drives out right into traffic, but he does eventually recover, and Michel now rejoins at the back of the field. 52 is now on the attack. That is the battle for the podium between Floyd Kerr and Jeff Carollo. Kerr was able to get by. Kerr also has set the fastest lap of this race, and now he sets his sights forward on Brown and Kerr.
Yeah, it looks like late research for the performance in the body. As we see Dale Peterson car looked like it is slightly banged. I don't know if there's any mechanical damage. Let's look at turn number 1.
Ooh, is that Benatti again?
Yeah, similar incident, but then hard into the wall. Yeah, there must be some mechanical damage into that Ferrari. Probably day done.
And even more drama, there's a Lamborghini around. That's a 969 of Kenny Rodriguez, who spins again at turn 5. Let's see, did he get any help, or did he just outbrake himself? He just outbraked himself, and the Lamborghini spins around. Kenny Rodriguez falls out of the top 15.
Oh, but the position was kind of dangerous over there. You can even see the contact between the other cars that were falling through when we actually got back into live pictures. His car was just sticking towards the kind of, I would say, into the apex exit of the corner of turn number 5 into Moraine sweep. So at least he was knowledgeable enough to hold the brakes and just stay stationary for the time being and let everyone pass.
Kenny Rodriguez is, of course, the series organizer. So if he wasn't holding his brakes, if he drove off into traffic, there'd be hell to pay for Kenny Rodriguez. So I guess he had extra incentive.
Oh, hell would break loose.
All hell hasn't broke loose up front yet. Errol Uriksoy on the attack on Greg Doucette now. Greg Doucette, one of those drivers last season in the GT4 series. We always commented about how he never really got into trouble. Him and his teammate Nicholas Carangis in that familiar plaid livery for Throttle Thursday. They were in the Porsche GT4 car, which was not the ideal car. They didn't really have the performance in that Porsche, but they stayed out of trouble, and Greg Doucette was constantly picking up top 10s, picking up good results because he just managed to stay out of trouble. Now in this BMW, he's up into P9 for the moment, but he's got a very, very hungry train behind him. Look at that. That looks like a copy-paste in Photoshop. Look at that train behind Doucette. Oh, contact into Canada corner. We're watching a replay. That's Fleischmann again getting into a little bit of trouble. He gets off completely fine, but Mercedes on Mercedes violence. And those concrete walls at Road America bite very, very hard.
And somewhere in Stuttgart, the engineers for Mercedes must be crying out loud as we look at Terrafino try to play the patient game over there and try to look for moves. As we see the 52 now of Carollo trying to move up on Rasmussen, kind of being blocked off on the exit of Moraine sweep. Oh no.
3 wide into turn 5. How did they get away with that? With quite a bit of runoff at the exit. Terrafino is back into the top 10 now. I think Matt Scherf got the worst of that. He kind of got driven off the road. Strike cars went very, very wide as well. But how did we just go 3 wide through turn 5, Lorenzo, and get away with it?
I have no idea. The Jesus Sim Race, he probably was strong in them.
Andre Bonatti is hoping that it's even stronger now through the carousel. He's found himself at the back of the train now. He's found himself in contact with a few other drivers tonight, but now through the exit of the carousel, he sees one portion, strike cars, another portion, Scherf, another one in Saad, and then a pair of BMWs, a trio of BMWs actually at the head of this train. But as these guys continue to fight, the gap expands up to P8 Eric Kalaga. It's now almost 3 seconds between 8th and 9th, but here we go to the inside goes Bonatti on strike cars, and that's going to be fairly straightforward through Canada Corner, or at least it would have been if he didn't throw it in the gravel on exit. Strike cars hangs on. Bonatti was flailing through the gravel. I'm amazed both of them saved it. They were slipping and sliding halfway in the grass through the last 3 quarters of this track, but they rejoined the train, and they're in exactly the same way they started it.
Great awareness from Srishars, however, to avoid the crash. Let's look at the replay right here, Joey. Late deep braking from the V-Race, and we can see Srishars just waving the car into the grass right before the left-hand kink, and sealing the position at the end of the day. But that could have gone so worse, and I mean so worse if he hadn't paid attention. Maybe triple screen? I want to say triple screen.
Just a little bit of Road America Rallycross. The power of triple screens, maybe.
Love it.
Not going away though. Bonatti's still very much there. Not going to be able to send a dive on strike cars into turn 5 this time, but he's certainly going to be thinking about it. He's going to be thinking about Canada Corner again. He's going to be thinking, you know, I made that move once. I can do it again. Just kind of need to keep the car out of the gravel this time.
Put it to say the very least.
See the positions gained on the side of your screen. Andres Espinosa, easily the biggest mover. Oh dear, trouble up front. Looks like oh dear, Sean Duhamel, the number 19, one of our regulars, back in the Ferrari. Runs into trouble for the first time. Did he get any help? No, he just drives it off again. Into the gravel, into the grass, recovers, doesn't spin around. Harmless mistake for Sean Duhamel, but that's going to lose him a couple more spots.
Yeah, I saw that actually happen as soon as we actually cut up into the carousel camera. Duhamel going off wide, but slightly weird move, but it can happen. It's not easy. Oh no!
Oh, Jod Khalif, Canada Corner. That was one of the Throttle Thursday drivers on the inside. I believe it was Karanjis. Let's see what happened. The inside, bam! Just pounds him off the road. Absolutely nothing Khalif could have done there.
Yeah, absolutely nothing. We're just staying on his line, and the other Porsche just understeering to the braking, and had to catch it back on the slide, and thus push the Khalif wide into the tire barrier. They done. Unfortunate.
Ever since Kerr got by Carollo for 3rd, it's just been a fallback through the field. As Brandon 6 does even more Road America Rallycross. We're gonna have to start thinking about those incident points here. 13 incident points on road courses in the Precision Racing League will get you a drive-through penalty. We're not going to worry about that right now because we finally got the dive for the lead, though. Gary Brown to the inside of Matias Arangua. Matias gives him a wide berth, and Gary Brown takes the lead at Road America. And Floyd Kerr is going to take advantage as well. In the space of 2 corners, Arangua goes from the lead to the last spot in the podium.
Very sneaky move from Floyd Kerr, you know, just waited for the perfect movement to try to go into P2 eventually, as Arango kind of like had to falter back the car, going into the curb and slightly off balance the car in between turn number 5 and turn number 6, right? So it was a little bit tricky for them, but at the end of the day, nice move from Brown. The problem is that Kerr's car looks pacey as hell, so we can see that Audi contending for the lead in a little bit.
Your eyes do not deceive you. This is not the pace lap a little bit further back, but it certainly looks like it. This is an insane little train here between Duhamel and then Glover, and then it just keeps cycling back and back and back. side by side between Porsche and Ferrari, rather, manufacturer battle, but they all managed to sort it out. There's just so many of these trains throughout the field. The McLaren and Dave Peterson gets turned through the kink, though. It was 1 by 1, and he just got throttled by, I believe that was Randy Gross in the 55 through the kink. Dave Peterson is not having a very good day at Road America.
You're putting that mildly. Let's look at the replay. Slight tap on the rear, but then again, it kind of drags him to the wall. Peterson nearly saved it though. That would have been a mega save. That wouldn't be the save of the race. The problem is once he came back around, unfortunately, he crashed into the wall and damaged the suspension for out of his McLaren.
BMW v BMW into turn 1, battle for 10th, and it's Yurik Soy who's going to hang on. Greg Doucette falls out of the top 10 now. He was in 9th at one point. He was the leader of the BMW train, and now Terrafino and then Yurik Soy have both gotten by. He's stretching the limits again on exit there. I'm really worried about these incident points now. 13 incident points on road courses in the PRL gets you a drive-through penalty. 17 incident points gets you disqualified. These guys have got to be racking up a ton of 1X off tracks right now. They're definitely going to have to be thinking about 13X at the end of this race if they're not careful. They're definitely going to have to be thinking about 13X at the end of this race if they're not careful.
Yeah, we're just halfway done with the race, and we still have to do a pit stop. So it's going to be a little bit tricky if you're, like, for example, at 8 incident points. And I know for a fact there is at least drivers with 10, 11 incident points. So they're just on the cutting edge of going to get a drive-through penalty over here by the competition, as we see Doucette trying to break away a little bit from Assad and Sheriff as he's trying to apply that pressure on Yurik Soy, but he's not fading the guy in front.
Nearing the halfway mark in this race, so we're going to have to start thinking about the pit cycle soon. We're going to have to start thinking about pit stops. I'd say usually in this series, around halfway is when we start to see the first takers on pit road, on pit lane, but it's always at the very, very end of the stint, the longest you can humanly go on one tank of fuel, that we really see the leaders start to come in. But let's see as we navigate through the final corners. None of the leaders are going to be coming in, understandably, but it is around that halfway point in the race. If you're one of these drivers in one of these very, very long trains, and there are a lot of them all through the field, I wonder, are you starting to think undercut this early?
I would give it at least 2 more laps, because then you started to get within the pit range, right? And at least 1 lap undercut would do you wonders, because here you're going to be dependent on the draft. As Doucette goes outside here, Joey going to try to go for the late braking move. No, he's got already covered by Rex, so I going to need to turn number 1. And Kurt was trying to go for a move, I think, for the lead on Brown, and apparently Greg actually defended that P1 move. I was just looking at the top of the screen over here.
Yeah, Brown and Kerr getting close together, but Matthias Arangua was the driver who made a mistake. He was right on the back of him, and then he lost 3 or 4 seconds, I think. Oh, he braked on the grass. He clipped the grass. Now here comes Kerr on the attack as well, trying to go around the outside, wringing the neck of that Audi. He's to the inside of the Porsche, and Floyd Kerr takes the lead now at Road America.
Nice move, especially going to into the right-hand kink right after the Corvette bridge, and now going to hurry downs. The thing is, now you give Brown again the edge going into the field game of sorts. So who's going to perform better, a V6 or a V10 right here? They're both German, but nevertheless, I want to see a V10 win because I just like the noise.
See if Brown can fight back here. V6 v V10, the battle for the ages. Gary Brown peeks to the inside. He lets Kerr know he's there, but is he actually going to go for that move? No, he's not. He's going to settle back in line. He's almost going to get into the back of Floyd Kerr, but he's going to settle back into second here. I think it might just be a battle of straight line speed here. Floyd Kerr clearly seems to be the faster of the two, but Gary Brown seems to be very, very strong on the straights. The Audi, of course, has straight line speed, but that Porsche seems tough to beat, but it doesn't matter. Pit road is here. The pit cycle begins. Kerr and Brown come down simultaneously. Rasmussen's going to follow him in, and Arangua's going to stay out to go one more time around.
Which is not surprising. Like I said, you can go for an undercut strategy right here, maybe 1-2 laps, and try to leave it up all the way down to 12 minutes left into this race, which would be in the next lap or two, and try to perform pit strategy that would give an overcut on your opponent. But let's see who's going to get the advantage over here. Plus, a pit entry on Road America, very easy for you to get a penalty if you don't slow it down so quickly, because it's in the blind crest.
We've seen these GT races decided by pit road speeding penalties before, but it looks like everybody was kind, everybody was completely normal, everybody followed the rules, and Kerr and Brown are both going to leave pit road without a penalty. Benatti is going to leave, Yurik Soy, Rasmussen, Veloz, Sod, and Scherf. No penalties to be given for now.
Yeah, and I think I might have been wrong, but I think Brown actually got the edge on the exit of the pit lane in comparison to the Audi. I might be wrong over here. That was really close.
Brown wins the race off pit road by 1.3 seconds in the pit box. I think that was that extra fuel that Gary Brown might have saved. Either that or he's underfueled. I hope he hasn't underfueled, but either way, he's gotten himself back ahead of Floyd Kerr, and now he's got the lap car Glenn Vanko to deal with right ahead.
And now, if you're Kerr here, Joey, because you're racing PRL and everything, and you already have experience, what do you do? What is your mindset going forward? Because you hold it until the final laps, and you hope that you are in a 1v1 situation, or not?
I mean, I think you got to do what Floyd Kerr's doing right now. He's going to dive it down to the inside the first time he gets the chance. And Gary Brown isn't even going to fight it. That was a huge move by Floyd Kerr. Completely dominant, just sends it down the inside. And Gary Brown is back down in a second, but I think Gary is going to be in that position now, Lorenzo. He's going to be the driver looking forward. He knows Floyd Kerr has just been so dominant tonight. He's been the fastest car in the field. He's driven his way up from 4th up into the lead. How do you beat that? Good question. Good question.
Because now you become hunted every single lap instead of the hunter. So whenever you leave a car that has so much good drag, as we see Arangua, Carollo, 6, Kulaga, basically all the rest of the top 10 that hasn't yet to be pitted, and they're now doing their service onto the pit stop. Now there's going to become a little bit of a scramble coming out of the pit lanes. Who's going to get the upper edge in terms of the strategies as we go and finalize another lap?
Glenn Vanko pulls off. Looks like the only driver staying out on track still is nobody. I thought I saw somebody up ahead. I think that may have been a lap car, so no worries there. Kerr and Brown retake the lead of this race. Matias Arangua will fall down even further through the field. It has not been a kind pit cycle to Matias Arangua. He might fall outside of the top 10. I wonder, does he have a pit lane speeding penalty? He's been in there for ages. No, he doesn't. He does eventually come out, but Matias Arangua, the pole sitter, was in the fight for the podium. He exits the pits in 12th.
Yeah, wondering what happened to Arangua right here. If he overfueled the car or something like that, because this is kind of a mistake that you really want to do in a high-pressure situation. Here comes Brown.
Brown tried to peek to the inside. Unfortunately, there was grass there. Couldn't go for the move. But this battle is unpredictable. That's exactly what we want to see. I said Floyd Kerr was kind of the advantage driver here. He was the driver who's driven his way through the field. He's been making all the moves to get up to the lead. But Gary Brown is proving he can do exactly the same thing here. This is going to be a dogfight, I think, for the next 12 minutes. Kerr and Brown seem very, very evenly matched, and both of them have proven to be able to get past the other and stay ahead of the other.
Yeah, but the problem is you really want to battle it out so badly between you both that give a small fighter's prize fighter's chance to Rasmussen, because he's not far behind. Just take a quick look. 2 seconds behind the leader, it's nothing. If you battle out, let's just say, to cut of the corner, you lose to, let's just say, 0.3 of a second, and it actually improves 1-2 laps. You just get him to the toe range of Brown, and that becomes a little bit of an increased issue.
Arangua has made another mistake. You can see Arangua on the ticker falling through the field. Let's see what happened. Was it a single car incident? It was. Oh my goodness, Matias Arangua. That's the hardest hit you can get at Road America. Just loses it out of the kink. And that's a one-punch kill for that BMW.
Yeah, you can even see the smoke coming out of the car as they're going to open up one more lap. I estimate, I think we have about 5 more laps to go here, Joey, aside this one. So it's going to be basically a straight 5 to the finish. The problem now, Rasmussen distance might widen a little bit because of the AMG that's actually separated these two to Rasmussen.
sure Rasmus is looking at his relative right now, seeing that gap coming down. He's seeing how close Kerr and Brown are, and he's probably thinking a little bit, you know, I could go for a Brown-Kerr incident here. I could go for a free win from third, but he's not going to have to worry about that right now. Brown a little bit further back coming into turn 5 this time. The straight line speed of the Porsche working out, not even using the draft at all. Wasn't able to get close enough into turn 5 that time, though. The gap's going to stay at about 1 car length between the two of them. But Brown's not letting Kerr get away. One mistake from Kerr, and that's going to be Brown back through.
You can kind of see the line done from Kerr right there, going to moraine sweep, right, Joey? A little bit of a middle wide line going to turn into the moraine sweep, turn number 5. So a little bit of a defensive move, but also not compromising too much the apex into the entry, right? So you still have that speed, you still have the performance carrying out the car speed into the corner, outside of the corner as well. So good mentality from the Hardpoint by Delta Sport Academy driver.
Another test of the straight line speed of the Porsche here. Down into Canada corner. Brown's going to close it down to Brown Town, but under braking, not quite close enough again. He's getting tantalizingly close. Kerr actually overcooks it a little bit on the exit of Canada corner. Brown's going to get to the outside. Around the outside in turn 12 is not going to work. He's going to switch it back to get to the outside again through the final corner. Kerr's not even going to be able to fight back. Brown takes the lead around the outside.
What a move. I think Kerr actually yielded this one, you know, live to fight another day. Now you're going to have the traffic going to the main straight. Going to try to look for that move on the inside here, Joey. There you go. And look for that late break in turn number 1.
And Brown's going to back out of this again. And all of this respect, all of this backing out, it's all well and good for both of their survival. But Andrew Rasmussen, we ride on board with him right now. That gap was once about 3 seconds. It's been divided by 6 now. It's only half a second. It's a 3-car battle now.
Hey, remember when I said about call me Nostradamus here, Joey, but I think I said about 2 laps ago, 1.5 lap ago, battle way too much, you lose about 0.3 of a second, you get within the draft range. Now here comes Rasmussen. You got a tree scrap 2 brands, and it's gonna be interesting.
So if you had to predict Brent Stradamus in 4 laps from now, which of these 3 drivers is going to be in the lead, or is it going to be none of them?
Hold up,
is it going to be somebody else?
Joey, slow your roll. There's one thing being regarding making predictions about who's going to survive and win this thing. If you know me well enough, don't ever let me pick a driver to win, especially Run America. My history here is cursed.
I was forcing you into the trap there. I kind of want to curse a driver. I kind of want to make some more otherworldly, supernatural elements into this race, but maybe we don't need it. Maybe it's going to be a good enough battle without the ghost of Lorenzo influencing.
Yeah, especially at Road America. My history precedes here.
Brown trying to fight back. He's trying to fight off the ghost of Lorenzo into Canada corner. He almost took the lead here last time around, but under braking into Canada corner, Kerr does a much better job this time. Does not overcook it quite as much. And then through turn 13 and 14, he's going to have his own bit of track. He's not going to have to worry about Brown here. We're going to cross the line to get, I believe, 4 laps to go if my timing is correct. Great exit for Gary Brown. Gap's only about 2.5 tenths. We've seen the advantage this Porsche has in a straight line. Look for Brown into turn 1.
Yeah, but that would have to be the stand of the century for Brown on turn number 1, unless you really want to go for it and try to commit towards it. But gotta play the smart game over here. Ooh, Kurt, clipping the grass and going into the entry turn number 1. But playing with the margins right here, Kurt, but still getting out unscathed at the end of the day.
I think I saw Brown actually back out a little bit in turn 1. He wasn't even fully on the brakes. He was just, letting Kerr go, getting back in line. And
he did a small lift.
The fact that he's done that, these two have actually pulled away a little bit again from Rasmussen. He was truly in the fight. There was about half a second between the top 3, and now that Kerr and Brown have kind of settled things a little bit for now, or that Brown is hanging back, Rasmussen is kind of losing the back of this train here.
Yeah, but now kind of compromises line going into turn number 5, nearly compromising to turn number 6 for Brown over here. Brown and Rasmussen closer once again, and everybody had to now stack up on each other's backs, and now it becomes reignites a three-way battle now for Brown, and what Brown needs to do is just get a clean exit out of the carousel, try to drag the draft going to the can of the corner and try to make a move over here. Then he becomes hunted one more time.
Goes a great exit, very wide or a little bit wide by Brown out of the carousel, but through the kink he is well and truly there. The gap comes down and down and down. Kerr attempts to block, but he knows Brown is there. Brown peeks to the inside in Canada corner. He does get to the inside. Kerr's trying to fight it on the outside, up the hill, coming into the Bill Mitchell bend. They're side by side again. We've seen this work out before in Floyd Kerr's favor, and they're going to slap back in line, but Rasmussen peeks to the inside of Gary Brown. Not able to be late enough on the brakes, though, to steal second. It's going to stay the same order it was, but things are heating up here. 3 laps to go at the line.
3 laps to go, and here comes Brown once again. He's going to use that draft. Try to carry as much speed as he can. They're already looking towards that inside lane. Going to turn number 1, already covered by Kerr. He's going to commit for it? Indeed he does.
Kerr thought about blocking, but he kind of gave it up, and Gary Brown takes the lead, or does he? Kerr's trying to fight back on the outside. He's still there. He's not slotting in line anymore. He is truly thinking about this win. Brown on the inside, under braking into turn 3, does take the lead, but now watch Kerr in that draft. The Porsche might have a straight line speed advantage, but that Audi has been slippery in the draft, and the other Audi of Rasmussen is right there. 3/10 separate the top 3 into turn 5.
And you can see already Brown covering the inside, Kerr on the outside. Rasmussen trying to be the sneaky guy. A little bit of an underperformance for Kerr. Is going to open up the inside to Rasmussen to try to go in. No, he doesn't. Everybody falls within the back of one another. It becomes a single train once again. Oh, look at Kerr.
Kerr peeks to the inside. I don't think there was a gap there, and I think he agrees with me. He had to back out of that one. Tried to send it into turn 7. The gap that didn't exist, backs out, gets back in line. And that's allowed Gary Brown to get a little bit of respite, or at least it did for a millisecond. It gave him a break, and then he lost 4/10 by dipping it off into the gravel, and they're as close as they've ever been again.
Yeah, but all right, here's the, oh my God. Clip the grass and it's straightforward kill the Porsche right there. Of course, a human mistake, but nevertheless, that was bad. That was close. By the way, look at the gap between 3rd and 4th.
It's coming down. John Carollo is catching up. Brendan Six is catching up as well. Terrafino is up into P6 as well. We've been so focused on the leaders that we kind of missed the battle that Terrafino was having back through the field. But the battle for the lead continues again. Kerr is just desperately trying to find a way back by. Couldn't find it there. Now he does. Gary Brown throws it off the road. Brown throws it off the road. He's finally made the biggest mistake of anybody, and he's going to lose out potentially on this battle for the win now. 2 laps to go, and he's got to make up 2 seconds as it now becomes Kerr v. Rasmussen for the win.
And look at Carollo already grabbing P3 on the inside goes Rasmussen. Already has to back off from the move right there, going to turn number 1. Kerr lives to fight another day. 6 moves up into P5. Brown following like a stone right here into the track as he can lose one more to Terrafino.
Side by side with Terrafino through turn 3. Brown is going to try and hang on, but he is fighting as hard as he was for the lead to stay in the top 5 now, and Terrafino does eventually have to back out. Brown is back up into the top 5. But unless there's absolute calamity up front, unfortunately, that appears to be Gary Brown's chance at a win this season over. But what an impressive performance, at least, in the first 33 minutes of this race. But there's the replay. He now breaks himself under pressure.
Not only that, but the car really understeers heavily into the turn right. It doesn't like you want to go. And oh, we have more issues between Brown and 6. What happened over there? I think just outside of the Corvette bridge as 6 goes off, loses 1 position, nearly loses to Terrafino now.
Yeah, it's kind of confusing that 6 is in 5th right now, and he's also in the 4 car. That's not confusing at all, but 6 does recover. Let's see, did Brown help him at all? Was Brown getting a little bit aggressive up over the top of the hill? I think so. I think that was a send from Brown, and that kind of forced 6 to flail around and recover a little bit.
Yeah, but I don't think there was contact between the drivers. Just a more aggressive move from Brown right there, as we're gonna open up the final lap here. Joey, nothing decided so far. Still 2 drivers, but in the back as well, nothing decided as well. As Terrafino goes down on the inside of kind of the corner.
Terrafino now displaces 6, and he is where he should be, in 6th. Terrafino takes 5th, and he's going to look at Gary Brown now in that battle for 4th, and that's going to be the end of that battle. Carollo has run away, and then Kerr and Rasmussen are in a league of their own in the lead here. But Rasmussen has not been the driver who's taken the fight to the leader so far this race, but he's finally been given that chance. White flag is in the air. It's Audi v Audi. It's Kerr versus Rasmussen. Kerr brought that gap down or Rasmussen rather, brought that gap down as Kerr and Brown were fighting for the lead. And now he's proving that he still has the pace to fight for this win. Through turn 3, turn 5, and Canada corner. They're the 2 optimal places. We'll see if Rasmussen can do anything on Kerr here on the final lap. He's in the draft. He's within 2.5 tenths of a second. Rasmussen wants this win desperately.
And I think it was a little bit of a bad exit. Kerr when he actually has to cover the middle lane.
Rasmussen sends it to the inside. Is he going to be able to outbrake Kerr? He is, but Kerr goes off the road. Kerr ends up in the runoff. There wasn't much contact there. There might have been a little, but that was the send of the century by Rasmussen, and he did get that car slowed down.
Yeah, but actually makes a mistake on the exit out of the Corvette bridge. Here comes Kerr.
Kerr's trying to fight back. I'm sure he's not happy about getting forced off the road. Down into turn 9, Kerr is all over the back of Rasmussen. Rasmussen's been on offense this whole time. He's finally the defender. He's on defense for the first time tonight through the carousel for the final time. Could Kerr and Rasmussen come to blows here? Look at Carollo in the background. He's certainly hoping that he can seal this win. Through the kink for the final time. It's perfect for Rasmussen, but it's even more perfect for Floyd Kerr. Down into Canada corner for the final time. Look at the run for Kerr. Rasmussen blocks to the inside. Kerr's forced to go to the outside. Kerr's later on the brakes, but Rasmussen is just late enough to hang on. This isn't over though. Kerr peeks to the inside, up over the Bill Mitchell bend. He's made this move around the outside before. Rasmussen's gonna leave him room. It's incredibly fair racing. Who's gonna be later on the brakes through the final corner? It's Rasmussen, but he can't get it stopped. He's off the road. Floyd Kerr takes the lead. He flashes the lights, and in the battle of the century, what a way to kick off the season. Welcome to the PRL Winners Club, Floyd Kerr.
Hoo-wee.
Take a breath.
Take a breath, Mr. Kevin. You're gonna need it.
Jesus, that was incredible.
I did not expect this at all. I expected the cars to actually go side by side going to the final corner, but I did not expect Rasmussen car to understeer. I think under the braking, I think he just overshot his braking, and the car didn't want to turn in with the understeer of the car, and just was pushed out wide mechanically about the car. And Carollo, nothing to do with that. He just, shakes his hand, says, "Not my problem. Thank you very much," and grabs P2. What a race! What a way to kick off this fixed season.
I don't think there could be a better way to kick off a racing season. All throughout the field, there was some calamity, of course, there was some drama, there was some contact, but that was incredibly clean racing between everybody in the top 3 there. What a way to start the season. That's just the textbook example of Precision Racing League racing. If this is your first race in the series, if this is your first broadcast you've ever watched for this series, this was not an outlier. We see this a lot, and we're always dumbfounded at the end of some of these races. But the field's going to cycle through here. 50 cars in the field tonight, so we got quite a while to sit here and cool down as the rest of the drivers cycle to the line. Fleischmann down in 36th. He had a troubled race. He's going to cross the line. Looks like there's a few more who have been lapped. No, Fleischmann was the last driver on the lead lap. So everybody cycled through, and the results should be cycling through on your screen in a matter of moments. I'm going to take a breath after all that, and I'm going to let you scroll through the results and then find your favorite driver.
Me? I'm going to have to do that. Okay. So Floyd Kerr P1 after the big battle he had with Rasmussen, actually edged out on top and got P1. Jeff Carollo after the incident P2, and what a great race for the number 52, and Rasmussen P3. Marco Terrafino with a great recovery race for the BMW driver P4. Gary Brown just from P1 up to P2 and to P5 at the end of the day. That was a little bit of a letdown for the number 49 of the Porsche. For the 6, it was actually in 6th place. There you go. What a coincidence. Eric Klug in 7th place. Kyle Streichard is in 8th place. Nick Silver and Matt Scherf ran out of the top 10. Then we got Jeff Kussela in P11, Mark File in P12, Sean Duhamel with a good recovery after the incident. He had a few laps back to the end of the race. You got P13, Baron Glover in P14, Steven Martinez, P15, Randy Gross, Brian Hoskins, Bob Cohen, Regan Chandler, and Andre Benatti round out the top 20. Then we got
Michael Calaga was 21st. I can finally take over again. That was kind of the rhetorical question for the viewers, but I guess I do have my duty to read through everybody else's names in the back of the field here. Calaga, Carangis, and Doucette, the Throttle Thursday drivers down the back. Andres Espinoza, Thomas Amos, Glenn Vanko ran into trouble. Mark Forte and Mark Bray, the two Marks, 27th and 28th, and then Michelin and Macaulay were 29th and 30th. Yurik Soy, Wright, Cowgill, Khalif, Rodriguez, and Fleischman were the last drivers on the lead lap, and then we begin to get into the used car lot a little bit further down. Dinsmore, Saad, Petit, Veloz, and a few others. It was a big field tonight. Peterson, Duval, Arangua, Columbia, Peterson, Plord, Brown, Chandler, Burmeister, and Dan Fendick were the 50 cars here tonight. But we can ignore the other 49 drivers that we just read through, Lorenzo, because Floyd Kerr, the winner of this race, is in the booth right now. And Floyd, I'm at a loss for words, and I think you might be too.
Yeah, that was definitely a great fight. The entire race, from start to finish, it was clean battling, and yeah, I definitely think that went well.
So how did you feel about that move on the last lap? Rasmussen sent it down the inside in turn 5. It looked like there might have been a little bit of contact, but you were able to recover from the win in the end. So how did you feel about it?
That initial hit was my fault. He made a clean dive, and I tried to pinch him too tight and knock myself off of him, so he was completely in the right there. But then I knew from that moment on I have to do everything I can with the remaining track I had left, and it all came down to the final corner, literally. But definitely, my heart's pumping. That was a hella good fight.
Of course, it's early days in the season, but that was an incredible performance. You drove your way up through the field. You battled for the win. Are you thinking championship, or is it too early to start thinking about that?
We can hope, and I'll definitely be doing everything I can for it.
All right, well, we wish you good luck for the rest of the season, and we'll see you next week. See if you can double up.
For sure, thanks.
Floyd Kerr, your winner tonight, and it looks like we've got second place Jeff Carollo, potentially the luckiest driver in the universe at the end of the race. Lorenzo, you want to talk to him?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Jeff, talk us through this race that had so many emotions for you, start to finish.
Yeah, so of course it's series 1, so I'm not gonna try and push too hard. I kind of want to judge the rest of the field, but definitely getting used to fixed setups. Usually always building my own sets, so the car was falling back and forth throughout the race, trying to find a steady line. I did qualify pretty well, but I fell back pretty quick. And then did come back up to third place due to the unfortunate event of my teammate Gary Brown making a spin. Got into third, and then lucky that Rasmussen pushed out wide last turn. I was able to get myself into second, but it was a pretty big back and forth race battle with the car I was having. Got to get a little more used to the fixed setup, so hopefully soon. So next week should be a little better for me.
Right on. And I have to ask you, actually, you were mentioning about the fixed setups and you make your own setups. How difficult do you find driving a Lamborghini that you don't see driven too often, right? So for you, what's the feel of the car?
The biggest concern I was having later in the race is just due to the fixed set. I was having the front tires basically shovel through the carousel really hard and just go super wide. It was hard to keep in a tight line at times. The rear end stayed pretty steady, so I was able to adapt to that. I was able to adapt to making the car handle, but the understeer was definitely a big challenge I was fighting as the tires wore and they got hotter throughout the drive of the race.
Okay, well, Jeff, with that being said, congratulations on the podium. Of course, all the emotions. That being said, take a little bit of a breathe, take a break, and we'll see you next week.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys. I want to thank everyone here. Thanks everyone that organizes at PRL, my Team Vulture, and sponsor GTR simulators and all the OG homies in OneSim.
All right, that's our top 2 who we got to talk to, but it looks like that's going to be all. Andrew Rasmussen, I guess, understandably not necessarily in the mood to talk to us, Lorenzo, but that was one of the most insane races I've ever seen, and we're about to do it again for 5 minutes longer.
where do you have a bottle of water or something like that, an oxygen tube or an inhaler for yourself, Joey? Because I think you might need a breather during that race.
I do have a big old Brita filtered pitcher of water in the fridge, but I was stupid and I should have ran over there and grabbed it while you were doing that interview with Carollo, and I didn't. So I've just got my half cup of water here, and that's got to get me through a even bigger field. I got to read through that whole grid in the next series.
Yeah, you're gonna have to do that, and we're gonna go into a race now. I think the open race might be a little bit more interesting, because if we're going to take the official series, of course, there will be a Porsche domination, I think, because you now have more of a way to explore the car setups and everything. And from what I've seen, the Porsche, just because of the drag and the increased downforce that it got on the balance of performance, it truly performs out of the car. So it's going to be something interesting.
The open setups are always interesting, and then the open field is also interesting in the GT3 Sprint Series. It's a Pro-Am split. The Am and the Pro categories were both incredibly hard fought last season. Nick McLaughlin and Ryan Patrick fought each other for the Am title last season. McLaughlin came out on top. He's been promoted to Pro this season. And Guillaume Levesque was untouchable at times last season, but he's not here this season. He's moved off. He's going for a run at being an old iRacing pro in GT3. So he's not here this season. Does that open up the field? I'm not sure, but the strength of field in this pro class is absolutely insane. Last season in the PRL, we ran 10 series. There were 10 champions. Actually, there were 9 champions because Abner Acosta won 2, but that's irrelevant. 5 of those drivers who won championships last season are in the GT3 Sprint Pro field this season. Sean Campbell, who won GT4 Fixed in the most dominant way in PRL history. Nick McLaughlin, who won the GT3 Sprint Am title. Danik Van Daly, who won the GT3 Fixed title last season. Connor Wagner, who won the F3 Pro title. And Ryan Pucktel, who won the F3 Am title, will all be competing in this series this season. It's like the Champions League, and there's also 50-something other drivers who are going to be competing with them.
And they're all hungry for something, right? They're all hungry for victory, and especially if you really want to get a really strong result in this first track, as we see Nick McLaughlin just coming out of the pit lane and getting ready to start his flying lap. And this is going to be interesting because I think for this race, more than the fixed race itself, track position matters.
Nick McLaughlin, of course, was an Am in previous seasons, a 2-time GT3 Am champion, or I believe one of them was actually a GTE Am championship, and also a Ferrari Challenge championship, if I'm not mistaken, but he's in the Pro category this season. He's finally been promoted. A lot of us have been giving him grief about how he should be a Pro, and now he finally is a Pro, and we'll see how he stacks up with the rest of the field in the Pro class tonight. He's going to come to the line to, I believe, start his first lap. I think he's waited to complete his first lap. We'll see. Does this lap count at the line? No, it does not. He's going to go around one more time. Nick McLaughlin is on the clocklin.
Yeah, going to turn number 1, just braking, trying to clip the curb on the inside portion, just trying to run right all the way too wide into the exit of turn number 2. Now heading to turn number 3. It's kind of like a rinse and repeat of turn number 1. Avoid the grass on the outside here, Joey, so you can get an off-track incident, and then basically your lap is aborted. Now let's just see how he goes into moraine sweep in turn number 5 and 6.
I'm just trying to determine what that pig is, and the top of his windshield visor thing. It looks like
it's Nick. Thank you, Hugo.
It looks like he's sitting on a coronavirus, I'm so confused. I hope he's on the podium. I need to ask him about that.
Well, knowing Nick and his team and the graphics that they do sometimes, I think we saw that in the PRL season, in the F3 season. I wouldn't be surprised with anything.
Carousel for the first time. Laps starting to roll in. Michelian Green, our Pro, goes to pole, and old Ted Lowendick goes to P2 for a millisecond, and now he gets dumped down the order by Diego Morales, Martin Crisp, Arnaud Genet, and Ryan Pucktel. F3 Am last season, GT3 Pro this season, and he is ahead of Ted Lowendick for the moment, but it is Michelian Green on pole. We start to see all the times roll in. Wait for about 30 more seconds to see where Nick McLaughlin goes as Sean Campbell, GT4 Dominator. Is he going to be a GT3 Dominator this season? He's going to have to fight very hard for it, but for now at least, he's going to be on pole ahead of Vincent Trepanier.
he's been a very good driver for the Vector by RSR team. So it's not surprising to see him on the top of the board, but the separation between him and Trepanier is quite surprising though. As McLaughlin's going to round up the lap, a 201 high that might put him around P16.
Exactly P16. Lorenzo the mathematician gets that right. He slots in behind Justin Rector, who's one of the new drivers for the season, one of the Precision Racing esports drivers who has decided to hop into the GT3 Sprint Series this season. He was questioning himself kind of before the season. Does he really deserve to be in the pro class? But if you're out qualifying Nick McLaughlin, I'd say that's a pretty solid performance, at least for the moment. He's still got 4 more laps to improve, as does McLaughlin. But now we watch one of McLaughlin's teammates in a differently colored car, Colin McKenzie, one of our AM drivers, in the Lunatic stable up the hill. We'll see if McKenzie can improve on his position right now, which is nowhere because he hasn't set a lap yet. He's currently 42nd, but he is finally going to get a lap on the table, I believe. No, he's not. He's going to start a new lap. Colin McKenzie is on the clock in AM, and we'll see where he ends up after 2 more minutes of Road America.
Now, here, let me make a question. I know we are more proficient drivers in open wheelers, right? You and I come from the same background, but if you have to transition to a GT3 car or a GT car specifically, which corner do you think is the hardest one for you to, get it right around this track? I always think it's turn number 5. I always think it's going to Moraine Sweep and maybe hurry down, so it is the hardest corner for me.
It's a good question. I'm trying to think, because I've driven this track in PRL have I driven this track in PRL 3? I don't even remember. I know I've driven in the Ferrari Challenge, and I've driven it in Indy Pro 2000 open wheelers just in official, so I'm trying to think, do some comparisons. Maybe the kink, because that's like not even a corner in an open wheeler, and in the Ferrari, I'm trying to remember, did I have to lift in the Ferrari through the kink? I think you might have had to do a little bit of a lift, so that one's tough. The hurry downs are tough. Just about turn 1 is even tougher as well, because you've got to figure out how to be even higher commitment in a heavy GT3 car. So a lot of these drivers we talk about racing in the other PRL series, it's probably not a complete switch for them. They've probably got plenty of experience in GT3 cars, but if you've been racing a different car all week and you're just hopping into this car for the first time in this practice session, it's probably an adjustment.
Hey, I would say it's a challenge, but again, I've driven pretty much everything around this track. GT, GT3, F3, F4, the IR18, and I've always think that it's turn number 5 because it is a downhill slope. It is. There isn't any banking in it, but because there's different braking points, and it goes from car to car, right? And even though this has ABS, it's hard for you to get it right because you can miss the apex. It's kind of like that small clip going to the inside. There you go. That small clip that the 87 does, and try to keep it straight on the outside. That is the hard part. It's so hard for you to nail it down perfectly.
Vincent Trepanier trying to find those 3/10ths up to Sean Campbell. Trepanier is one of those drivers who I wanted to mention when I was talking about how this is the Champions League, how we got 5 champions from last season here. Trepanier, of course, didn't win the championship last year. His teammate Guillaume Levesque did, but he was always around, especially in qualifying. And now that Guillaume is out of the way, there's an opportunity for a new driver to take over the helm of this series, but Vincent is not going to take the helm if he's sliding around like that on this lap. I don't think this is the lap that Vincent is going to find 3/10ths on Sean Campbell, and unfortunately for him, there's only 1 minute left in this session. So if anybody's going to challenge Sean, it's going to be whoever's on their last lap right now on track.
Yeah, and again, quite surprising lap for me for Sean Campbell. The Vector by RSR driver just overperforming on the car, just showing how much of a driver he is and how adapted he is. And look at Trepanier just trying to keep the car straight, going to the final corner. And the car just getting very slidey on the exit as we go now to Rob Campbell.
Yeah, you'll learn very quickly if you're just tuning into the PRL for the first time. There's a lot of drivers named Campbell. Rob Campbell goes to 3rd in the AM class. Sean Campbell is on pole in the pro class, and there's also Tyler Campbell in the AM field tonight, who, speak of the devil, that is perfect timing. Tyler Campbell on your screen right now. This is not the same Tyler Campbell who won a race in the F3 Pro Series last season. That was Tyler S. Campbell. This is Tyler J. Campbell. So as if we didn't have enough Campbells, now we've got 2 Tyler Campbells. But either way, qualifying has come to an end. Looks like there was a jump up the table by Ryan Pucktel, which is pretty exciting. So clock has, I believe, timed out completely in qualifying, and as everybody else gets back to the pits, as the time officially ticks over, we will get to take a look at the grid here. Even bigger in this field tonight. If I had to count, what is it? It's something like 56 cars on the grid tonight. But either way, Sean Campbell from GT4 to GT3 on pole again by 0.3 over Vincent Trepanier. Mitchell in green, so strong in Mercedes last season, now strong in a Porsche in 3rd. And Diego Morales, he won a race last season, is 4th. Alessandro Puotti of Italy, not Finland, is alongside Ryan Patel, F3 AM champion last season, taking it to the pros in the GT3s. Caven Norris, possibly the most unlucky driver last season, starts 7th, alongside a new addition this season, Martin Crisp. Then Dimas Ometo Jr. starts alongside Sean Campbell's teammate Ted Lowendick, a solid top 10, ahead of F3 Pro champion last season, Connor Wagner. Then Sean Dickinson starts 12th in a BMW. Lucky number 13 eventually went to Arnaud Genet alongside David Duino in the Vector by RSR Porsche. Tom Fain is 15th alongside Tommy Brisson. And then Justin Rector and Gonzalo Cortez round out top 18. Then 19th and 20th, we keep going down. Thomas Dunn and Nick McLaughlin in the pro class, lower than he would have liked, but look for him to drive through the field potentially. Behind him is Caruso and J.R. Williams, and then David Bush III and Vicente Sepulveda is 24th. And then we start getting into our AMs. Our AM pole sitters, Caleb Lehman in the Porsche alongside a Porsche Pro, Dave Menino, Keith Bonilla, Mark McDonald, and GT3 Fixed champion Danik Van Daly is down in 29th, and Alec Bergstrom also switches from the GT3 Fixed series. He's 30th. Lyndon Swaby is 31st. Rob Campbell is 3rd in AM, 32nd overall. Miguel Angel Fonseca and Blake Ziti, 33rd and 34th. Brett Thurman and Tyler J. Campbell, 35th and 36th. Hits keep on coming. Joshua Lawrence, a pro deep in the field. Peter Newhook's 38th. Nathan Deering, Sean Carmody, Turner Schroll, who was also in F3 last season, and Mike Griffith is 42nd. Marc-Andre Desjardins is 43rd, and another pro, Jorge Flores, is 44th. Jeff Evans from the NASCAR Truck Series saw the field tonight and said, "I'm in danger," but he's starting 45th. Alan Roth is 46th. David Van Roy, an MX5 regular, is 47th, and Eric Dubé is 48th. Mark Kalin, another NASCAR regular, down in 49th, alongside Colin McKenzie and Christopher Rhines, David Morse, Robert Goff, Joshua Daniels, another NASCAR convert, David Wilson Jr., and Darren Rufford round out 56 cars in this field tonight. We had 50 in the Fixed Series, 56 in the Sprint Series, Lorenzo. That last race was insane enough. You said this one's going to be even crazier. I'm just trying to think about how that's even possible.
I can try to break down and say why this is going to be slightly crazy, because first and foremost, it's going to be faster laps. You saw by qualifying at 2:01, and I expect the faster laps is going to be right around 2:03, 2:02, maybe 2:01 mids. We even saw 2 minutes. But then again, it's going to be a crazy race from start to finish. And I think this is going to be more of a chance game than the Fixed Race, because Fixed Race, you saw many cars battling it out, duking it out on track, and in here, the level of the drivers is so big. This actually might become like an official race of sorts. You're going to be marking each other, trying to follow the draft, try to get that fuel, and try to battle it out of the pit lane, and then try to battle for the final laps and see duke it out and see who comes out on top. It's going to be a great race.
iRating doesn't mean everything in the PRL, but I'm going to read through some of them at the head of the field. Sean Campbell, 7,163. Vincent Trepanier, 4,771. Mitchell in green, 4,100. Diego Morales, 5,207. Alessandro Puotti, 6,945. That is... I'm not going to do math in the booth right now, but the top 5 average, that's got to be high 5,000s, maybe even 6,000. That is just an insane number for this GT3 Sprint Series, and the level of the PRL continues to go up every single season, and it is finding new heights every single year.
Yeah, which is insane to think about. We're this is one of the good things. I think I was talking about in the F3 season and the Pro season when I was commentating here at RaceSpot, that the level of drivers is so stacked up, right? And you had drivers, for example, Connor Wagner. driving with 6K. You had also other drivers driving with high I ratings, and you had this mix of low and high I ratings mixed up with one another, battling for position, lead position. So it made the field interesting. It made the fights interesting. This development of drivers, and this is why the leagues provide this, closeness between drivers. So that's why it's good to come to leagues like this, learn from the guys on top, see their racecraft, and then try to make those improvements on league races where the mindset is so much different than the officials.
Navigate through Canada corner out of anger for the final time in this race, and we're getting ready for 40 more minutes of GT3 racing here in the Precision Racing League at Road America. It's a little bit of a Porsche festival up front. I believe the entirety of the top 10 as they cycle through, it's all Porsche. Sean Campbell will be at the head of all of them alongside Vincent Trepanier. It's RSR versus ASR, and the green flag at Road America awaits yet another GT3 race in the Precision Racing League. The season begins again. GT3 Sprint is go, and it's a great start by Sean Campbell. Oh, huge trouble in the background. We didn't even get to the start-finish line. It looks like half of our AM class has been erased before the line. Lots of drivers involved there. We'll have to look back and diagnose and identify everybody involved in that accident. But up front, Sean Campbell is streaking away already as Mitchell-Ian Green and Vincent Trepanier fought through turn one. It was a great start by Mitchell. Hopped from third to second. Is Trepanier going to be back on the attack? He is. Mitchell-Ian Green takes the widest possible line through turn 5, but he's going to hang on for second.
Yeah, and Diego Morales is just trying to look for moves right there as we see more battles coming down right in the middle of the pack. So it's going to be an interesting start, very convoluted of sorts. And but other than the incident that we saw at the start-finish line, everybody lined up pretty much in a single file, and good to see that there might be the long run, the big game.
Looks like the drivers involved: Christopher Rhines, Colin McKenzie, Alan Roth, Jorge Flores, and there's more drama. I think that's Mike Griffith in the Audi around down at turn 9, but he's going to be able to recover. Understandable in a 56 car field that we're not getting through lap 1 with everybody unscathed, but Nathan Deering, Robert Gow, I think Joshua Daniels might have been involved, and of course a few others down at the bottom of your timesheets. And even more trouble through the kink. There is a pile up again in the middle of the field. Alex Caruso, you can't even see him because of the dust cloud. More drivers involved in the middle of the field. That seems like the most dangerous place to be, and it keeps on going. Another Porsche hard into the wall coming into Canada corner. Marc-Andre Desjardins doesn't get through lap 1 without heavy damage on that Porsche.
Yeah, I think lap number 1 just eliminated, I think, 1/4 of the grid. I think I see Ryan Pocatello having to defend now from, looks like it's going to be Dimas Orneto Jr. on the inside. Here goes Dimas, here goes the Brazilian. He's going for the late break and trying to contest that move. Yeah, he will.
Pocatello very wide on the outside there, but he's going to hang on to 8th for the moment, but not anymore. Martin Crisp is going to get by. Connor Wagner is going to get by. Look at this pair of F3 champions. The pro champion, Connor Wagner, the AM champion, Ryan Pocatello. They found each other for the battle for 9th. And then behind them, Sean Dickinson, Ted Lowendick. There's an inter-RSR battle there. But we're side by side into turn 5. Let's see if Pocatello can get around the outside of Wagner. Not quite. He's going to open the door for Dickinson now, and Ted Lowendick, I think, got a little loose in the background. He's actually going to peek to the inside. He's gotten ahead of Dickinson. I mixed the two up. Ted Lowendick is actually in the red RSR Porsche this time. Dickinson is in that highlighter yellow and gray BMW.
And look at that. It looks like Lowendick a little bit of a more aggressive line on the exit out of the kink, left right-hand kink, and this is the interesting aspect of these more open races. You lose one spot. You are in such a big train like this. Let's just say you try to go for the move, it doesn't work. As a counterpart, you lose not just one spot. You lose 2, 3, 4, maybe 5, just because you overcommitted going to a corner that you shouldn't, and try to catch it back is going to be more difficult than staying at the position that you previously were.
Our Arnaud Genet in the background, hanging off a fight from David Duino, one of our newer drivers this season as well. He tried to take a peek to the inside. Let's take a look at that initial start incident. Lorenzo, this looks like an IndyCar oval start sometimes. There's just one checkup and everybody's piled in.
He's, I'm getting bad memories now that you say it about IndyCars.
I can only say that because I've been there. Also, Connor Wagner, we saw in the split screen there, threw it off the road through the final corner. He's going to fall back out of the top 10. He's going to be down into 16th, now 17th, as Justin Rector gets by. And Justin Rector in that Precision Racing Esports Porsche. Connor Wagner falls down to 17th now. It's still a Porsche battle. I'm looking at my timing screen right now. The top 20 is currently 17 Porsches, 2 BMWs, and 1 Audi. And all 3 of those BMWs and Audis are outside of the top 10.
Can I guess, are they in the 17, 18, 19, and 20 specifically?
Not quite. Dickinson actually just advanced into the top 10, so that's good representation for that BMW. But we're side by side here for the last spot in the podium. Trepanier qualified second, but he's going to fall again. He fell to Michelin Green at turn 1, and now he falls to Diego Morales, who's going to take over third. Alessandro Quoti now looks to the back of him. Trepanier almost throws it off the road. But Quoti now is going to be hungry for that 4th place through the carousel. Trepanier seems to be falling just a little bit early on, but let's take a look at a replay here. This is the Caruso incident through the kink on lap 1. It kind of looked worse than it was. It looks like there were a couple drivers involved, but for the most part, you can have a far worse pileup at the kink than that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think it would have been worse, but the problem is just right here, this rejoin, and Desjardins just overly committed and throttled into the grass immediately into the wall, and that could have been worse because there was a BMW driver not far behind that nearly replicated the same mistake that Desjardins made.
Either luckily or unluckily, we've calmed down after lap 1. Sean Campbell has pulled a 2.5-second lead over the first 6 minutes of this race. I shouldn't have said anything because there's trouble at Canada Corner. Mark McDonald heavy into the wall, and one of the BMWs as well down at the back of the field. I believe that may have been Keith Bonilla, one of the YS Motorsports drivers. Let's see what happened. Bonilla in the BMW. Did he just outbrake himself? No. Kind of met in the middle.
A little bit of an oddity, and then to say the very least, as we see more battles, and look at Danny Vandale going to the inside of the Audi. Can he actually make that move stick for the 1-2-1? But yeah, he can. Now does the Audi fights back on turn number 3 because they're still side by side, and the Audi does retain a little bit of an advantage going into the gripping, and Vandale just playing it a little bit safer than usual as they go for single file once again.
Blake Ziti drove that Audi in the GT3 Fixed series last season. He drove it pretty solidly. He had a front row start at the Hungaroring, if I remember correctly, which was very, very impressive. But Danik Vandale was, I say untouchable. He was certainly touchable at times, but he was the champion-elect from day 1. So it's interesting to see him a little bit further back than we'd expect. I did not expect Danik Vandale. Our GT3 Speeder Newhook is around now. Bad luck for all of these Porsches. Send me off my Danik Vandale anecdote because it seems to be a very bad day to be an AM Porsche. The Pro Porsches, they're all having a perfectly fine day, but all of the AMs that have gone for these Porsches, as we look at Peter Newhook's frustrated face, they've all been running into trouble.
Yeah, to say the very least, as we see Morales now going into P number 2, the Wii race driver, making that overtake on green. Meanwhile, Campo just, I think he decided to take a vacation from this race.
Yeah, this is what we saw many, many times in the GT4 series last season. But actually not really, because Sean Campbell would take the lead, he would start on pole, and then he would kind of toy with the field a little bit. He would back the pace up, he would save fuel, but he's not even doing that right now. He is just driving off into the sunset, driving his own race, and he's probably looking in his mirrors right now saying, you know what, Diego and Mitch and Vincent, you guys can fight all you want, you guys can slow each other down, and I'm just gonna have a Road America track day in this Porsche. But no track day a little bit further back, more side-by-side action. Crisp and Dickinson, and then Arnaud Genet hanging out in the back, just watching the action. The lead driver steward of the Precision Racing League, just keeping an eagle eye on the action. He's probably hoping there might be an incident ahead of him to open up the road, and then he can take control of the admin duties of that incident as well.
And you can actually see the calm demeanor on Genet, so not, just the better word would be to panic or looking for panic moves or something like that. He's just playing it calmly, just trying to find that perfect space and then that perfect opportunity to maybe, who knows, go inside over here on the Corvette bridge. Again, playing it patiently but nearly touching the front of the Matthew Crisp's car.
Almost crunched Crisp in the back there.
Yep.
I'm just interested about the purple and pink lighting on Arnaud Genet's car. I hope there's no glare in the cockpit of that car from those pink and purple LEDs, but I guess it's fitting. He's in a purple ASR car. He's got purple lights.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to match the car, right? So purple and purple, but I think because it is dark, it becomes pink. So that's me just trying to make sense with my words. Color
theory with Lorenzo Banda. That's why we tune into GT3 Sprint Series. Yeah. It's like Bob Ross is in the booth.
Exactly.
Happy little trees on the back straight here as Arnaud Genet keeps trying to put the pressure on Martin Crisp, but Martin Crisp, I got to think of more Crisp jokes over the course of the season. I wish Ewan was here. He would appreciate my Crisp jokes. That's a very British humorous take there. But anyway, Crisp is going to hang on, and now Genet almost has to back out of the way for David Duino, who almost sends that Porsche a little bit further forward, and Gonzalo Cortez in that bright red Porsche. He's been kind of flying under the radar in lucky position number 13. Hasn't done anything spectacular, but he's just been biding his time. But Arnaud Genet is no longer biding his time. He's going to get to the inside of Martin Crisp. Under braking into turn one, they're going to be side by side, and Crisp is going to back out and get in line.
And not far behind, there was also Connor Wagner trying to battle for position, but retains from Brisson. And look at Duino, looks like going to the inside of Cortez and making one more spot. But then again, the problem is you battle way too much. You bring Connor Wagner and 5 more cars to the fray, and it truly becomes the American Express.
Alessandro Puoti, I mentioned him moving his way forward through the field. New driver this season in the Precision Racing League, and he's going to dispatch of Mitchell Ian Green very easily. Forgive me, I have that water coming up in my throat that I got, Lorenzo. But either way, Puoti is moving forward, and Vincent Trepanier is next on his list, as they've both actually gotten by Mitchell Ian Green in the battle for the podium. Vincent Trepanier is still just desperately holding on for everything he's worth to keep this last spot in the podium.
And I'm starting to feel this is actually going to become, like I said before, this is going to become a battle on the pit lane. Ian Green, just because you have green on your name, Mitchell, you don't have to specifically go into the green part of the track and just not tarmac and then head into a wall. Don't do that to the commentator. I'm too young.
Keep scaring us, Mitch. Keep scaring us. That's what we want. Oh, scary moment for Vincent Trepanier. You don't have to scare us anymore. Vincent's doing all of that. He almost throws it off the road to Canada corner, pinches the gravel, and Alessandro Puoti of Italy up into third now. Vincent Trepanier off the podium now, and Puoti sets his sights forward 3 seconds up the road as Diego Morales. Can he shake Vincent off his tail, though?
That is the question to be made, because the 87 looking pacey, grabbing that draft on going to the outside as covered by the Italian on the inside. Nearly went actually side by side twice on the cars on this train, but Puoti already with a good cover and retaining that P3 spot from the Canadian.
When I covered the Majors 24 a couple seasons ago, my co-commentator was Finland's own Asi Puhakka, and he had an anecdote about Alessandro Puoti, who was in that race. Puoti apparently is a Finnish word. It's a Finnish word for like a convenience store, like a corner store. Like you go to 7-Eleven, it's a Puoti. You can buy cheap stuff. So everybody thought that Alessandro Puoti was a secret Finn. Everybody in the Finnish sim racing world was like, hey, we got one of our guys. But no, he's not Finnish. Just because he's named after a Finnish corner store, Alessandro Puoti is one of Italy's best sim racers, in fact. That's a very unimportant anecdote, but I found it pretty interesting, and hopefully whoever's tuning into this stream does too.
Trivia's with Joey Tubman.
I hope Ossie's tuning in. He'll like that I brought that up.
Oh, I wouldn't mind. Hey, Ossie.
We'll have to get some Portuguese word-based trivia for some further anecdotes. But speaking of Portuguese-speaking countries, the Brazilian Dimas Ometo Jr. all over the back of Kevin Norris. Kevin has survived for 14 minutes in this race so far. He had some of the worst luck of anybody last season. He seemed to always be getting taken out on lap 1, or at least early in the race, but he has made it 14 minutes in this race, and why did I say that? I almost cursed him to die at Canada Corner.
Yeah, but he cursed him to lose position, though. Well done, Joey, as the Brazilian goes one more spot. P number 6 for the Brazilian, just getting right outside the top 5, but the problem is there is a little bit of a gap separating him and Mitchell Ian Green. That obviously the 774 of Norris is going to try to exploit and try to assure that the 34 just cannot get within the draft range.
Looking back in the AM battle, we've been focusing a lot on the pros. We've only really mentioned the AMs when they've been getting into trouble, but Blake Ziti currently leads the AM class in the GT3 Sprint Series right now over Rob Campbell and then over Sean Carmody for the podium. It is a fairly dominant lead right now for Blake Ziti. It's actually 5 seconds over Rob Campbell. A lot of his AM competitors have been wiped out or have taken lengthy pit stops, and he's been basically up front. I believe, if I remember correctly, he started on the front row of AM with Caleb Lehman, if I'm remembering correctly. So it's been a great performance by Blake Ziti. He put in quite a few great performances in the Fixed Series last season, and he's kicking off the Sprint Series season in this AM class with potentially a performance that could get him his first win.
Which wouldn't be bad at all, as they're going to Moraine sweep in turn number 5. So you can see Sean Carmody at P3 in the current city, just trying to grab where is Carmody into the trap. P24 in, Rob Campbell not far in front, and pretty good battle as he's trying to mark Rob Campbell as the best way he can, going around the corners and trying to see where he can actually find an opening, trying to make that overtake. If not, just try to take along.
Sean Carmody was also in the GT3 Fixed Series last season. He was another driver who always seemed to run into bad luck. We joke that his season was a Carmody of errors, but right now he's holding tough in 3rd place. And Rob Campbell, one of the best drivers in the GT4 series in previous seasons, and he's been fighting very, very hard in the GT3 competition lately. He's still been in the GT4s, but I think he's been putting most of his focus in the GT3 competition lately, and he might not be in the battle for the lead right now. Blake Ziti's kind of checked out, but he has a very, very hungry driver right behind him. Battle for 2nd in AM is potentially the closest battle on track right now.
Not far behind, I think, just looking, looks like Gary Dubé and Keith Bonilla just battling for position up from behind, going to the left-hand cage, into the final corner specifically, and Bonilla just made the move on Dubé.
Yeah, Bonilla got back by Eric Dubé, who is 4th in AM. Then Mark McDonald, we saw him get into trouble. We saw him and Bonilla both get into trouble. Remember back at Canada Corner a few laps ago, Bonilla and McDonald came together, ended up in the wall, but they're both on their drive back forward through the field. See if McDonald can get by here and then get back up to Keith Bonilla and maybe get by and get some revenge for that move. Not taking him out revenge, but getting back by him revenge, I should specify.
Fair point. And by the way, you're on point with the pun game today. Well done.
I don't even remember what my last one was.
You said the
Carmody of Errors. That's right. That the joke only works in Ewan's accent. It's got to be a comedy of errors.
No, don't worry. Someday, I think someday, whenever we get Peter Mackay, you and Chaz Draycott, then we're gonna have the trifecta of pun comedy here at RaceSpot.
That's got to happen. I'm booking it. I'm writing that down in the schedule. You can find the drivers for us, Lorenzo. We'll be the pun masters. Speaking of comedy, I guess we ride on board with Ted Lowendick now, who always has something interesting and special next to him on the Zoom, and today it happens to be a bunch of cheese-based products. And Ted's from Ohio, which isn't especially far from Wisconsin, but I think he has just offended the entire state of Wisconsin, because those are all artificial cheese-based products. There's no true Wisconsin cheese there. Once again, Ted Lowendick has offended the entirety of either a state or a country, and hopefully that doesn't curse him in the next 20 minutes of this race.
I'd rather not try to get into it, and because that is so evil. It's late hours for me, and I really don't want to get hungry. He's making me hungry.
I do have to confess, I am a big fan of those weird turtles. Those, like, sometimes it's like cheddar whales, sometimes they're cheddar turtles, but we're having a whale of a time for the battle for the podium here. Get the cheese conversation out of the way. Vincent Trepanier back by Alessandro Puotti. He's not going to get to chase Diego Morales up the road because now he's got to pass Vincent Trepanier again. Vincent has been a little bit of a slow burn tonight. He was falling back from his front row start. He fell as low as 5th, I think, and he's driving his way back forward, and he's going to try and check away from Alessandro Puotti here and hang on to this podium.
Yeah, but the problem is he has no one to help, and
Cortez hip checks Sean Dickinson a little bit. I think accidentally. He was just trying to get out of the way from the slow-moving Arnaud Genet, but that could have ended in a very, very large accident. That reminds me of the accident that killed Adam Brockway's Aston Martin at Okayama last night in the GT4s. But they get away with it. Still a little bit of a hip check from Cortez, and still probably a very terrifying moment from Sean Dickinson.
I can even look at David Duino's perspective right there, just staying focused as best as he can and try to avoid any possible mistakes as he sees Dickinson, Cortez try to battle for position, and I think he's just thinking, please do not hit each other and try to get in front of me. I really don't want to damage my car.
Duino in the Vector by RSR entry that was previously occupied by Ted Lowendick, but he's been promoted, I guess, to the big RSR by Butt Kicker squad with Sean Campbell now. So David Duino takes over the Ted Lowendick position and doesn't take over the background props that Ted Lowendick normally has, but maybe that'll be something for further weeks for David Duino. Maybe an Arduino or something, I don't even know. But he's clipping the grass in the exit of turn 1. We're still pushing very hard. It's a little bit of a holding pattern right now through basically the top 20 minutes into this race, but that goes to show that we're still pushing 9,000% here, or 100%, whichever number makes more sense.
I just the one number that some drivers really want to see is over now 9,000. But anyway, approaching pit stops though.
Oh, David Morse. He's going to have to make a pit stop, I think, here. There's damage on the front end of that car. He's going to loop it around. That's the final corner of the track. Is he going to minimize his losses and come down pit road? We'll have to wait and see. Let's watch what happened to Morse through the final corner. Just sends it off the road. A little bit of a lazy spin, actually, but I think that was just a case of a late turn-in.
Yeah, I think a little bit of a mix of late turn-in and also, Marc-Andre Desjardins just adding more into his pile of pain than he had early on in the race.
My question is, how is that car still on track? He hit the Armco in the back straight at about 140, and that car's still driving somehow. But I think a little bit more damage from the tire wall is probably the least of his concerns right now. Dimas Omedo Jr. still driving his way through the field. Now he's got a chance in the top 5, but trouble in the background. David Duino, who we rode on board with, has lost it on the exit of the kink. He was the driver in the background of your screen. We'll have to see if we can see what happened to him. But bad luck for David Duino in that Vector by RSR car. Oh, he didn't even clip the grass. He just lost it. Oh, my goodness.
And that was that Connor Wagner that was the first on scene and nearly sent it into the Vector by RSR space program?
I think it was Connor Wagner who was the first. I don't think he made any contact. He seems to be. There's Connor Wagner in the 57 at the head of your screen there. I think he's okay, but he almost died there. He almost T-boned him at full speed. And that's the trouble at the kink there. Back straight at Road America. Someone spins at high speed. Someone starts flipping and going to space. Close your eyes. Hope you make it through. Ted Ted Lowendick also moving his way through the field. Caven Norris, I think, has lost a position, and Arnaud Genet as well has lost a position as we watch the Martin Crisp train further back. J.R. Williams, and then the 14 of Ryan Pucktel. Pucktel had an incredible qualifying, started P6. He's fallen through the field just a little bit. I can't remember, honestly, if Ryan Pucktel got into an incident, Lorenzo, but he's fallen down to 17th, and
Who's that
he's on a recovery drive right now. Yeah, who was that on the outside? I don't think that was for position. I think that was a lapped driver, but I could not tell who that was in the BMW.
It looks like to be David Morse.
Oh,
But I might
David
be
Morse
wrong.
again?
Yeah, it was a BMW.
Let's see, yes, it was. David Morse again. He spun at the final corner, and now he's spun again. I thought he would bring it down pit road, and he actually did. He did bring it down pit road, minimize his losses, get the fuel in the car, but unfortunately he's lost even more from a second spin.
Less than ideal, and so far 15 minutes left. We got about right over 7 laps over here, Joey. The problem is, who's gonna pit stop first? None of the top 10 has gone for pitting, and again, we saw this in the fixed race that undercuts sometimes worked, some undercuts actually worked as well, depending on circumstances. Who's gonna yield first?
Well, you just got your answer, Lorenzo. Lorenz Stradamus strikes again. Gonzalo Cortez comes in. Sean Dickinson comes in. Tommy Brisson comes in. All drivers in the latter half of the top 20, but they have decided to come in, and that's the first real moves we've seen from the pros. J.R. Williams, Sepulveda, Thomas Dunn, they're all in. And that's got to mean that some of our other pros have got to come in soon. Sean Campbell is kind of a fuel wizard. He seems to find fuel where nobody else can, but it's a long lap at Road America. You've got to imagine there's only 1 or 2 more laps at most left here.
Yeah, because I think this might also be one of the highest, if not the highest burning fuel track of the season as well, because you are pedal to the metal, I would say 60% of the lap, something like that, and because this has really long straights, and it's hard for you to save fuel if you are on clean air. And as we see Ted Lowendick finally get within the back of Dimas Orneto Jr. and Mitchell Iyengreen. It took a little bit of a while for him to get within the top 5 train, but finally the RSR by Buckkicker driver is actually right behind him. And knowing Ted, he's going to play this a little bit of cerebral game with these guys. They try to go for the overtakes whenever the finds the opening.
Ted Lowendick trying to use the scientific method here to get by Dimas Ometo Jr. Doesn't do anything there. The experiment did not work. Wasn't actually much of an experiment. He just kind of rode his line there. But that's kind of the Ted way, I think. He's not the driver who's always just sending it down, making a low percentage move. I think he is calculated here. He knows that there's 13 minutes left in the race, and he also knows that the pit stops are coming right now. Everybody's in, Campbell and everybody else in the field. Here we go.
And so far, we haven't had, I think, a massive penalties for people coming into pit lane. The one thing I saw, and we covered this in the World GT Championship on RaceSpot a few weeks ago. Alex Davidson, which was leading the race in one of the races he had at Road America, was leading with a comfortable margin, but actually got a speeding pit ticket in the pit box and lost the race. So this can happen.
Campbell gets out of the pit box perfectly normally. No penalty for him. I would not expect there ever to be. And let's compare the pit times, actually. That's always something interesting. But first, Puoti and Trepanier side by side off pit road. Who won out? I think Puoti did. Trepanier did have to back out eventually. So Alessandro Puoti back onto the podium after the pit cycle. He jumps Vincent Trepanier, and no real difference in terms of pit box time, in terms of stop time. Sean Campbell in the box for 12.8 seconds, Diego Morales in the box for 12.7 seconds, and everybody else about the same. So the fuel saving advantage that Sean Campbell had in the GT4s, at least in this small sample size in this first race of the GT3 Sprint season, not much fuel saving from Sean's side.
Yeah, but I think the biggest difference over here was actually Ted jumping Dimas on the pit lane in the pit stop. So the RSR by Buckkicker driver jumping and actually open up a comfortable margin. The problem for Dimas right now is do you go for full offensive without caring for the defense? Because Kevin Morris, as we see on screen, just looking for that opening, and we saw him actually getting feisty a few turns and a few laps not too long ago to try to go for the move on the Brazilian.
I think that's exactly what Ted's probably hoping, looking in the mirror. He's saying, you know,
Yeah.
I've jumped to this 5th in the pits. I kind of want to keep it. Dimas and Caven, please start fighting. Mitchley and Green come into the fight as well. Just extend this gap as much as possible. Let me drive off into the sunset. We'll look back at the AM battles again. David Van Roy on the inside of Mark Kalin, 2 drivers from the MX-5 Cup Series. Mark Kalin drives just about everything he can drive on iRacing. He's in the MX-5s, he's in the Cup Series, he's in the Truck Series, and he's in the GT3 Sprint Series here. And the man from Kentucky is able to get by David Van Roy, and now he's got a BMW behind him. That is not Mark Kalin. That was Jeff Evans this whole time. I commented, the wrong Whataback driver. I'll apologize for that tomorrow night in the Truck Series broadcast, but either way. Is this Alessandro Puoti? That's David Morse going off again. I thought he might have collected Puoti and Trepanier, but no, he spins around in his own volition. Doesn't collect anybody, but it's not been a great day for David Morse, unfortunately.
Yeah, just David to forget, to say the very least. And apparently David Duino just put it up on our chat that the car got loose for no reason whatsoever before the crash.
That's always the mystery in a GT3 car. It does something weird, whether, you know, ABS, traction control. Sometimes they just decide to do something you don't expect, and it ends up killing you, and you're sitting there confused with a dead car. This is a great battle for the podium here. Trepanier is not letting Puoti go. Puoti's not letting Trepanier go. They've been fighting each other for this whole race. Battle for the lead has kind of been decided from lap 1. Diego Morales has also streaked away into a comfortable 2nd, but the battle for 3rd. Remember the battle for the win back in the GT3 Fixed Race tonight? We might see that happen again just for 3rd. But we'll look back to the AMs again. Now we see Mark Kalin in the BMW for Whataback, actually, and he's losing a couple spots. He's got a very, very damaged front end of that car. I think he was involved in the lap 1 IndyCar pileup, and he is falling back. It's very interesting to see that Mark Kalin on board in the GT3 series. I'm so used to seeing that in the MX-5s and in the trucks and in NASCAR stuff. Mark Kalin in a GT3 car, good save as well.
All right, Joey, now you have to put your NASCAR into practice over here, your NASCAR knowledge and trivias. Who's in the background?
That, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is Terry Labonte. I got to remember from previous weeks because I think David Morse just got forced off the road again. The bad day for him is getting worse. Is that David Morse or is that his teammate? No, that's his teammate J.R. Williams. It's been a bad day for SRT Esports as a whole. Now J.R. Williams goes around in the final corner. He's going to rejoin, do a little bit of rallycross to not pull directly into the way of Danik Van Daly, and he will get to rejoin. But yes, that is Terry Labonte. I think I remember that because my co-commentator for the NASCAR Truck Series is Terry Radman. So if I get that wrong, I'm not going to be able to forgive myself, or I'm not going to be able to get forgiven for that.
You're going to get a hearing.
But now we ride on board. Very helpful from producer Hugo to put the lower 3rd there. Jeff Evans is the Whataback driver in the Mercedes, and there's trouble up front. Turner Schroll is that blue BMW ahead, but is that Eric Dubé who made a mistake through the final corner? I think it is. Jeff Evans gets by, and now the battle for 7th in AM is the battle for 6th in AM as Evans and Turner Schroll go to battle. Turner Schroll, another one of those drivers from the F3 series last season, didn't make it to the end. He probably could have been a championship contender. He was fighting with my old teammate Takeshi Kito, with Ryan Pucktel, with Nick McLaughlin for a little bit for that F3 AM championship. Had to back out before the end of the season, but won multiple races. Now he's joined Hardpoint by Delta Sport. He's taken on the GT3 action, and it's been a solid race for Turner. He started a little bit further down the order than I think he would have liked, but to come out with a top 5 here F3 AM driver to GT3 Sprint AM driver. It's going to be a good first race of the season for Turner.
Yeah, it's going to be a great season for him, and especially given the fact that he's in a team that has a very good pedigree in GT racing, and he can learn from the guys within the Hardpoint by Delta Sport. But I think more importantly, it's not that this GT season is going to be his F3 season. I think once we start covering that on here on RaceSpotTV, but I would say if he does a full season, he's going to be basically one of the 3 favorites in the lead, given the fact of the pedigree that Hardpoint has on the F3 category.
Yeah, last season in the GT3 AMs, it was McLaughlin and Patrick who won every single race, but at least tonight it looks like that might open up a little bit. We might get multiple winners and an even wider championship battle, because ZD's been dominant tonight. He's been out front all night tonight, but we know Campbell's going to turn it up. We know Carmody's going to be able to turn it up. Miguel Angel Fonseca was competitive with McLaughlin and Patrick last season. We know he'll have better nights. And then the list goes on. Turner Schroll, Eric Dubé's always strong, David Van Roy, and then some of those drivers who got eliminated on lap 1 and didn't even get a chance to be competitive tonight. And Jeff Evans as well. He was scared coming in tonight. He's switching to the GT3 competition in the PRL. He's doing the trucks as well, but it's something different, and he's still proving himself as well. And I always love to see diversity in the PRL of competitive series. Drivers who take on 2 completely different cars. They don't have to excel in both of them, but when they do, it's even better.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It just proves you that you can be complete as a driver. You know, you can have adaptability towards any car. As you can see, Turner covering down on the inside, going into the Moraine sweep, a little bit of a middle to wine line. Meanwhile, here comes Dubé on the inside, trying to go for the move, just couldn't cope with it, and David, a little bit behind, has to cover his cover Dubé's tracks and just stay back into the single file line that these 4 cars have on one another.
Hard on the brakes for Dubé, almost in the grass, underbraking in turn 9. Everybody is just playing with those limits there. It's bitten a few drivers, but Dubé gets away with it. Of course, he switched to the Mercedes in the last race of last season because he eventually decided, you know, I'm not fighting for the championship. I might as well get in the best car and prepare for next season. And he has prepared for this season, but the battle for third, I said it was going to get as crazy as the battle for the win in the last race. With 3 laps to go, it certainly is. Quoty and Trepanier kicking up grass, kicking up dust. Alessandro gonna peek to the outside. Trepanier gonna block the inside. Quoty tries to do a dummy, doesn't work. He's actually gonna have to go to the outside. And he is on the attack on Trepanier. He wants to kick off his PRL career with a podium.
Nice cover up.
Quoty seems a little bit better on the brakes, but got to maximize that exit. We've talked about it last race. We've talked about it all night tonight. Exit of the carousel, one of the most important places on the track. Trepanier has been rock solid through the carousel every single time. You can see that gap that he's pulled over Trepanier, about 0.4 of a second. And that's just enough for him to be able to defend, I think. Quoty's got to force him into another mistake or find another place to get by.
Yeah, and here they come into kind of the corner. I don't think Quoty's going to make that overtake. I think Quoty's going to play a little bit of what would say the forced long game, unless he actually finds a proper opening to try to go for an overtake into the final corner or into turn number 1 specifically, and try to find the final lap and then be aggressive in it. Let's just see what the Italian is thinking about it as they open up the second to last lap.
Down the front straight for the second to last time. Quoty in the draft. Trying to get as close as possible to Vincent Trepanier. I think he's going to be too far back this time to send a nose to the inside, and he knows it too. Backs out. He's going to try and maximize the run down into turn 5 again. He had a great shot. He just wasn't able to use that run. Trepanier was perfect on defense, but let's see what happens this time. Trepanier keeps it on the road this time. Quoty does as well. The run down to turn 5 for the penultimate time. Quoty again just seems a little bit too far back.
Penny doing a fantastic job, you know, holding his own line, trying to not show any signs of pressure in comparison to what Pody's doing. You know, the Italian is putting up the pressure. If it is any other driver in the grid, there might be a chance he might have folded at a specific corner and then Pody would capitalize on it. But no, Trepanier just holding his ground the best way he can and not giving any openings for the Italian to make that overtake. As we're approaching the final lap here, Joey, Sean Campbell with a very easy lag check. Morales is too, but that final place in the podium is still undecided, and that's what we like to see. You know, battles all the way down to the end that matters for the big results.
Trepanier has almost like doubled this gap here in the Canada corner through the carousel again. He's been so strong through there, and he's pulling away from Quoti. White flag is going to be in the air for Sean Campbell this time. One more lap around through the final corner. Sean goes. You can't see any other drivers on his screen, and that's because he has a 6.5 second lead right now. So Sean is going to take the white flag, undefeated in the Precision Racing League, by the way. But he's got one more lap before he can really consider that. There's Nicolas Cage on the back of that chair, and there's a driver in a suit who's very small next to that. It looks like Andy Lally, but also that's only like 2 pixels for me.
That looks like Ricky Taylor for me.
Maybe it's Ricky Lally.
It could be. Anyway, at least he's acknowledging one of the greatest actors of our generation, according to one Aaron Rodgers, Nicolas Cage. Oh no!
Oh, I looked away. I thought that was Sean Campbell, but it's his teammate Ted Lowendick, who had such an incredible run, and he's going to be in the concrete wall after contact with Dimas Ometo Jr. Ted's not going to pull out on track. He sees that there's cars coming, but that looks like a very damaged Porsche. Let's watch what happened. No, Dimas did nothing there. Ted just got loose in turn 1.
And that is unfortunate. Remember what I said about being in the wrong end of things. Dimas, not at fault. And here comes Norris on the inside. He's gonna make that move easy on Dimas, and now does the Brazilian fight back? He's gonna fight back, and but I don't think he has room to fight back.
Dimas definitely came out with less damage there. It could have gone so much worse when you hit a car in turn 1. Lowendick got fired into the wall, but Dimas able to recover after Ted spun in front of him, and now he's trying to steal P6 from Caven Norris here through the carousel for the final time. Dimas, I'm sure, is driving frustrated right now. He's driving angry. Caven Norris is probably a little bit scared. He's going to be aggressive behind him because he really wants to kick off this season with an actual finished race, but through the kink for the final time in this battle. A little bit of trouble in the background for Sean Dickinson. Here comes Dimas Ometo Jr. Here comes Sean Campbell, for that matter, through the final corner. Sean Campbell on camera for the first time. Stop looking at me in the eyes, Sean Campbell, but either way, undefeated in the Precision Racing League. 10 wins in the GT4s, 1 for 1 in the GT3s. Sean Campbell, a perfect record, but it's going to be a photo finish to the line. Quoti was able to get by Trepanier in the previous corners, but to the line, he's going to hang on. Trepanier is going to get by after the line, but a photo finish for Alessandro Quoti. He's going to kick off the GT3 season with a podium, and Dimas Ometo Jr., I think, is out of fuel coming to the line. It gets even worse for him. He loses it through the final corner. Was that because the fuel was cutting out? What is happening on the run to the line for Dimas? Was that just a mistake through the final corner? I think it was.
Yeah, and I really want to look. I think who's on the BMW that overcommitted?
Dickinson. He got 3 moves in 1.
Jesus.
Sean Dickinson. That's one for the highlight reel.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't think it was because of fuel. I think he just overcommitted to the corner, and the car just bumping around into the grass and lost complete the momentum. And let's just say, I think you're right about 20 kph slower going into the final, into the start finish line. So I think it's understandable. Fuel might have helped, maybe, but surely that mistake from Dimas might have been a little bit of desperation move into the final corner.
Sean Campbell not the only winner tonight. Blake Ziti, for the first time in the Precision Racing League, is a winner in GT3 Sprint Am. The podium's rounded out by Rob Campbell and Sean Carmody. Everybody else cycling through. Marc-Andre Desjardins, I'm going to give him a round of applause. Marc-Andre Desjardins hit the wall in the back straight at about 140 miles per hour on lap 1 because there was a pile up in front of him. He hit the wall again because his car was damaged. and he still finished this gosh darn race. It's only 13th in class, but he's going to see the checkered flag. Bravo, Marc-Andre Desjardins. Ted Lowendick, I think, is going to bring it to the line behind, but the results are here for us. Sean Campbell wins in the battle of the Champions League. He wins the first battle. Diego Morales finishes second behind, and Alessandro Puoti, what a battle for third. He's going to be on podium for the Leo Racing team over Vincent Trepanier. Mitchell Ian Green faded just a bit, but he's still going to be happy with the top 5. And then Caven Norris finishes a race in 6th place. Gonzalo Cortez, a solid 7th on debut. And Sean Dickinson, maybe the move of the race in the grass coming to the line. P8, Arnaud Genet and Connor Wagner rounded out the top 10. Then Dimas Omedo Jr. might have run out of fuel coming to the line. Dave Menino was 12th, and Martin Crisp was 13th. Brisson, Puctel, Sepulveda, Bush, and Dunn go down to 18th in Pro, and then we get our AM winner, Blake Ziti. Lurt wins in GT3 AM. J.R. Williams was 20th, 19th in Pro. Rob Campbell and Sean Carmody rounded out the podium in AM. Danik Van Daly and Mark McDonald were also some pros down here. Disappointing for Danik. We'll see if he can get some results that we'd expect from him. I think he will in the coming weeks. And then Miguel Angel Fonseca, P4, Turner Schroll, P5, and Jeff Evans, P6. Dubé, Van Roy, Rutherford, and then Brett Thurman rounded out the top 10 in AM. And the hits keep on coming. David Wilson, Nathan Deering, Marc-Andre Desjardins, and I think Ted Lowendick is actually still on track trying to finish this race with that damaged car. So we'll see if he can make it to the line by the end of this broadcast. And then laps down, Robert Gow had a tough day. David Morse had a tough day. Tyler Campbell, who is not Tyler Campbell, was 1 lap down. And Mark Kalin had a very damaged car as well. Nick McLaughlin, his first race as a pro, did not end very well. He was 40th. And then the used car lot. Bonilla and Duino, Newhook, McKenzie, Justin Rector, Tom Fain, Alec Bergstrom, Caleb Lehman, Lyndon Swaby, Joshua Lawrence, and a couple more drivers who are out on literally lap 1. Daniels, Caruso, Mike Griffith, Jorge Flores, Alan Roth, and unfortunately Christopher Rhines ended up shotgun on the field. Lorenzo, I'm going to wait for a few more drivers to join us in the waiting for interview booth, but I'm going to ask you an interview question right now. Is this going to be another completely dominant season from Sean Campbell again? He's been completely dominant in race 1. He's done similar performances that he did in the GT4s last season. If you're the other 55 drivers in this field, you've got to be pretty scared after this.
Yeah, to answer your question, yeah, after the deaths there, you know, I can believe in everything. And it's going to be complete domination. 12 out of 12 races. No, I'm just kidding. I don't think it's going to be 12 out of 12 races, but there might be some races where it might be closer than it looks, like Statterton, maybe Motegi might be one of those races, depending on circumstances. So it's going to be a season where Sean is going to break away. He's probably the clear favorite. Everybody knows that. Other than that, we're going to have some competitors right here. I think we can have some eyes on Mitchell. Maybe Ted might bounce back a few results, and it's going to be an interesting season, but it's Sean's to lose, of course.
Well, hopefully we get to talk to more of our drivers, but for now, we've got another Campbell in waiting. Rob Campbell, P2 in AM tonight. Pretty solid result. It seemed like a crazy race to be an AM driver. A lot of your competitors got a race and a kerfluffle at the start, but you've got to be happy with P2 to start the season.
Yeah, definitely. Compared to how it started last season, it's like I had DNFs the first 3 races of the season, so it's nice to not only finish one, but finish it on the podium here.
So last season, it was the Mercedes that everybody went with. This season, it's the Porsche that everybody seems to went with, or everybody seems to have gone with, rather. Are you happy with your choice, and do you think it's still going to be the move for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I liked the Porsche before last season's updates, so I drove it quite a bit before, but it does drive a lot differently than the rest of the cars with the motor at the rear, so we'll see how it fares next week at Motegi. I think there's going to be a couple tracks that don't favor it so much, so we'll see how the balance plays out towards the rest of the season.
How are you feeling about Motegi next week? It's a track that sees some use, especially on the oval. The oval is kind of the track we always see. The Indy cars love to go there, but the road course, it's probably one of the more unpopular road courses on iRacing. How comfortable are you coming into the Motegi road course?
Yeah, I think it's a love it or hate it track. I think we ran it 2 or 3 seasons back now in PRL in the GT3 series, and I guess if you're in the right car, it's a lot of fun. I don't know. I've never had the Porsche around there, so I don't know all those 180 corners, how the back end's going to hold up with the pendulum effect. Hopefully we can keep it on track and get another podium, but we'll give it our best.
All right, well, congrats on the podium tonight, and we'll see you next week and for the rest of the season.
Thanks, guys.
Rob Campbell, P2 in AM, and guess who's just shown up, Lorenzo? P2 in Pro, Diego Morales is here.
Absolutely, Diego. Congratulations on that P2, man. And it came with a little bit of challenge, of course, but once everything was, I think, solved within the top 5, you broke away and never looked back.
Yeah, really good race for me. I think I didn't quite get the lap that I wanted for, the quali, so I knew I had a little bit more pace. Yeah, I try to be super patient at the beginning, but once I could pass those guys, I try to break the draft, and yeah, it worked quite well.
Perfect. And I'm gonna grab actually Joey's question too, and ask you as well. Going to a track that has lots of overtakes like Road America, and going to a track that it has a completely different drive, which is Twin Ring Motegi. How much of adjustments do you think that you're probably gonna need to do on the setup of the Porsche to try to make that competitive? Because it is a track that again has a much different driving style.
Yeah, totally. And for me, this is a complete new season because I've never driven the Porsche before. So yeah, it's like a new car. I need not just to adjust setup, but also adjust the driving, how to pass, how to save fuel and all this kind of thing. So yeah, it has been like a discovery for me since the beginning of this season, and I think it will not be different for the next one.
Okay, well, Diego, enjoy your break. Congratulations on the podium, man, and we hope to see you next week in the Japanese track.
Yeah, thank you guys for broadcasting us. Thank you for our teammates from Wii Sports, Wii Racing Sports. So it's been super nice to have them around. Thank you, guys.
P2 Diego Morales will, I'm sure, be talking to him many, many more times this season. Looks like one more driver is willing to talk to us. Ted Lowendick is here to talk to us. I was hoping we would get to talk to your teammate Sean Campbell, who won the race, but I think we might have to wait to the end of the season again.
Yeah, he's not one to do interviews for some reason. I'll try to fix that for you guys.
So you were on track for a top 5. It was a great race. You drove your way up from 10th, and then what the heck happened at turn 1?
Well, I just want to apologize to Junior there. I got on the throttle too soon and just over-rotated the car mid-entry or mid-corner and lost it, and then tried to not hit him, and he sent me a message saying sorry, he was trying to avoid me, but that was 100% on me, so he shouldn't feel bad about that. But no, great race. It was fun until the last lap. But yeah.
Did you get to the line at the end there? I saw you crawling around the results. Did you make it?
I did. I gotta give a shout out to Nick McLaughlin. He gave me a push on the back straight, and then Sean was like a wingman to make sure I got back. Okay.
All right. Last thing I have to ask you about. I'm looking. That's to your left, if my orientation is correct. We're in Wisconsin.
Yep.
I think they'll be very offended by that because all three of those products do not use actual Wisconsin cheese. They're using probably powder, craft, whatever. Does
this one says it
uses real cheese?
It says it's baked with real cheese, so I might be okay.
I'll believe them. I do like white cheddar cheese. It says a lot of people.
I bought them specifically for you. So
I don't know how much of that is real cheese. I don't know if that's I don't know what they're using over the cheese at factories, nutritional yeast or milk powder, but I don't know. Whatever. We'll stop talking about cheese. It's the first race of the season. Your teammate won. You were competitive. Yep. Talk about that. Talk about that RSR by Butt Kicker team.
I mean, these guys are great. Huge shout out to our sponsor, Butt Kicker. Appreciate them allowing us to run them on the car. They make a great product. So if anybody out there is thinking about getting a Butt Kicker, you should get one. But yeah, Sean, great race, great win for him. He's got mega pace. It's ridiculous how fast he is. I'm just happy to be within half a second of him sometimes. So But yeah, congrats to him for the win. Diego for getting a second there, and looks like Alessandro came in third. We had a good battle to watch there when I was in fifth, because he and was it Vincent were going at it. So it's a good one.
Dog eat dog battle for third, but we wish you good luck next week, and hopefully we're talking to you when you cross the line at a slightly higher pace than the damage score.
I hope so too.
Ted Lowendick, RSR by Butt Kicker driver and P22 finisher in class tonight. And Lorenzo, that seems to be everybody who wants to talk to us tonight. But next week, we talk to everybody about it. Twin Ring Motegi, the road course. I know I've driven it. It is very technical, even in an open wheel car, a light open wheel car with tons of downforce. That's going to be a tough race.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a difficult race. I think this is going to be more of a track. Again, track position is going to matter more here than Road America because it is more difficult. There are some spots for you to overtake, but in here, I think there's not too much fuel strategies. You're going to have to play this more calmly and try to navigate through the first sector, which is probably the worst sector you can try to make overtakes because it's just long straights and hairpins. So it's going to be an interesting race if you do have pace, and we should see some close battles in the front.
Well, we will see you next week for the GT3 Fixed and Sprint Series 1 more. Same time, same place, just at a new track. And tomorrow night, there's even more PRL action. Of course, the PRL NASCAR Truck Series kicks off their season at... Good question. I don't know what track we're kicking it off next week. I should probably figure it out, but me and Terry will be with you next week. And, of course, we'll be with you 5 nights a week for the Precision Racing League for the rest of the season. But for now, we're glad you tuned in with us tonight. From me, from Lorenzo Bonder, from Hugo Luis, we thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.